let's do a cheers to the Sobeys and Safeway Liquid Beer for the podcast.
We ride again.
I love you guys.
Careful, that cake's hot.
It's the 6 o'clock check-in. Come on, let's go. It's the AM nasty big hello.
It's that static AM radio.
It's the cool bed red hot Nielson show. Let's go. Everybody tuning in, even my wife.
Mommy likes too.
And those Macromella intros are cutting like a knife. Hey, it's Mitch texting in, he's your dealer for life. Let's crack at 6 o'clock and log in with some sirloin bites.
.604. Good morning. You're tuned into the Nielson Show. Lieutenant Eric Dave Jameson here. A sullen conch from JMO. Not in the celebratory mood today, are we?
I'm downcast.
It's as you should.
Weight of a nation on the shoulders of this program today.
Dark cloud over the nation, coast to coast to coast. Maybe affecting our internet here, as it were. Actually,
Are we having trouble?
well, we had a hiccup, maybe a bit of a. Bear with us.
All right.
As we bar down today, if you will. YouTube Trev as well, manning the monitors and keeping us on air today. How you doing? We'll get through this together. It's a Friday. It's an Oilers game day.
Yes, that should lift the spirits. But again, we are coming off a moment. Do we feel national shame or is it just regional right now?
What's that S word I was saying prior to the show? Symposium. Look, we will tear this thing down. We'll deconstruct it. We will get into the darker corners, the crevices,
We're here
the
to
cracks,
help.
if you will.
Yeah.
And we'll figure this puppy out as Canada bows out on home ice, nonetheless. In the World Junior Hockey Championships, they fall late to Czechia. Oil King Adam Dzeko with the game-winning goal, 40 seconds remaining, 4-3 Czechia, bouncing Canada for the second straight tournament in the quarterfinals. No gold, no silver, no bronze, no podium for the Canadians.
No Dave Cameron probably in a few hours.
Dave Cameron, and we'll get to him as well. He'll find his way on the wheel in terms of faults and disappointments and such. But
yes, he will.
Have your say. Once again, it is the Nielsen Show, presented as always by the fine folks out at South Fort Chevrolet, Fort Saskatchewan. Drive a little, save a lot. www.southfortchev.com. You can also search them out on the X, on the Instagram. Very interactive, great fun staff. We were out there in the fall. If you are at all thinking of getting a new ride for the new year, just give them a taste. Get out there, talk to the staff. I think you will be seduced in no time. That got you going, eh? We will not be talking about any cuck chairs today in Blue Jays off-season scenarios, but go get seduced by the fine staff out at South Fort Chev today. Paris Jewelers Inbox, 780-218-9999 is where you can go and weigh in, if you will, on Canada's exit from the World Junior Hockey Championships. $20 on the line to A&W this morning, and I think we have a winner. I'm just going to...
Oh, out of the gate. Not just clubhouse leader, it might be breaking the tape.
He can put his
Winning
feet up.
now.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
can turn his phone off. He does not need to text anymore.
You're home and dry, my friend.
William Mikespear, you may know him from the famous game day poems that we
Yes.
had on the Orange and Blue Breakfast, which will be coming up later in the show. But good morning, boys. Canada went further in the Copa America. Soccer. Than it did in either the last two World Juniors. Hashtag Footy Nation. Cheers, William Mikespear. It's a fork in the side this morning. Just it's not making you bleed,
yeah.
but it makes you wince and it makes you kind of stand to attention to that fact. But also, taking a bit of a fun poke at Canada exiting last night's tournament and giving a little love to the footy.
Okay, are you willing to put aside which
two for
are
me.
our default position when it comes to World Juniors and say, okay, I'm not going to allow you to say they're teenagers. We can't criticize them. So where are you going to direct your anger when it comes to this World Junior effort?
You're right. We can celebrate them. We can't criticize them.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you can't blame the players.
Got
they
it.
were trying their hardest and,
Yes.
and all that
Okay,
stuff.
so where are you going? Selection committee, the overlords of the program, Dave Cameron, all of the above.
It's got to be at the top because the top selects the Cameron. You can't even blame Dave Cameron.
So the prime minister.
If they come to... You
Sure.
said somebody's got to, in the House of Commons today, stand up, be
Somewhere
somebody.
in this country, there is a well-intentioned, or maybe not, member of parliament who is sitting there with his or her staff saying, I am going to introduce, when the House is back, a private member's bill to start asking the hard questions about Hockey Canada and our game.
You get from both sides of the aisle, right?
Oh, yes.
I don't know why else we have MPs. This is why you have an
Right.
MP
What's
in
wrong with our national game?
in the HOC.
Yeah.
Look, Dave Cameron, if somebody offered me the job to coach, I'll take it. The decision to bring in a guy like Dave Cameron, knowing full well who he is and where he is in his life and in the style of coach, I mean, I look to the top. I know Jason Demers was on Twitter last night offering to coach this program
free,
for
no
free.
less.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
We all could do a better job, and we all would. But if I'm offered a job, I always find it funny when guys are hired to do something they are totally not qualified to do, and then get blamed for accepting that job. Again, if your nation calls upon you, Dave,
Well, of course,
you
if your
pick up
nation
the
calls.
phone. You pick up the phone.
You answer, but
Dave Cameron did. Good Canadian.
Yeah, I get it. Good Canadian for sure. But looking at like the online reaction and there are former players of his who have weighed in, who've played under Cameron in the OHL or wherever else he's been, and they are not glowing reports.
No.
On his personality, his
If
philosophy,
only we had
if
that
you will.
before the hiring.
Yeah.
Damn.
Could you
anyway.
have spoken up before?
Darn. Nobody knew. Dave Cameron, Master Play. Hey, his PR firm or whatever he's got hiring, running his things. I mean, that's... Bones says, unfortunately, both Soccer Canada and Hockey Canada are vying for the worst organization.
Oh, there might
Not
be a few
wrong there
others.
either. No, not wrong there
Dead
either.
heat. It's almost a dead heat.
Meanwhile, Canada baseball's just, you guys...
Basketball Canada.
Basketball can, another
They're
good
fine.
body. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Sure.
So we do have our things going for us as a nation, but right now, World Junior Hockey is not one. Nasty Chat's humming along as well. Frank says, I'm sure it's Gary Bettman's fault somehow. I really do like this. We were going to spin the wheel earlier. I know it's loaded with NFL players from a Thursday night
Doesn't
of yore,
matter.
but
Doesn't matter.
Well, sure, give it a spin.
Saquon.
Jamon Naylor. It's his fault. I think anybody to blame, the more outlandish this morning, could be sending you to A&W. Text it in 780-218-9999. Is it a person? Is it a thing? Is it a I don't know, an emotion type of thing? Are we not? It stings more that it's in the nation's capital, home ice, nation's capital. This is our place to play. And Czechia walk out of here, and then blasting the goal to blast Canada's goal song,
Yes.
the Opus tune in their locker room after the game.
That's a good troll. Where are you at on reaction shots to grieving or upset parents in the stands?
They have an ISO cam on every single parent or
Yeah.
relative from Team Canada. We pour so much money and emotion and attention into this tournament. And again, it's a collection of usually great players, great players, brought together to play in a tournament, a quick tournament. And I think for countries like Latvia and Czechia and the rest, they like taking down the big dogs now. It's gotten too big in a sense. You know what I'm saying? The United
created
States
a Frankenstein.
Well, the United States have no pressure on them. They can just go in and do. Nobody cares down there. Like people care, but it's not national. We don't all drop our forks
in Duluth and a few other places.
Sure, yeah. Brock Lesnar country, I call it. But the rest, it's just you go do your business. You put people in place to make decisions based on talent or whatever, and they go do it. We'll get into this. We'll get into Hockey Canada and our thoughts on Hockey Canada and our thoughts on the state of hockey as it is in this country moving forward throughout the show. And as mentioned, Oilers and Ducks tonight as well. We'll bring in YouTube Trev right now, Tube, as Dave affectionately likes to call him. You've been rather quiet this morning. I know you wear the maple leaf on both arms on the patch.
Is he even aware we're on the air right now? Tube?
This is now we let him know that.
You drag him into the proceedings. Okay.
Your thoughts on the ice, off the ice? Are you just going to go the officials route from last night?
No, I'm not. Like, there's a few you can definitely. I know a lot of people are saying on Twitter. I'm reading that a lot. But I mean, we had Gazdic on. I just think they were trying way too much. Like, they were trying to be pretty. There's so many opportunities where you look, they have a good chance, and everyone's just trying to be the guy. Like Easton Cowan, he's on a 2-on-1. I forget his line mate there, but he could have. It was an easy tap in, but nope. Like, I'm going to take this one.
Zach on X said that's what his buddy in Chell usually does.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things that you can dissect. It could be the refs. But I mean, at the end of the day, like Gazdic said it, like the Czechians, like their work ethic is impressive. It was so impressive. Too. They were trying so hard.
You mean there are other nations vying for?
This just in.
Come on,
they are trying at hockey as well.
And they're going to want that one, maybe even more, because it's the upset. You're going against Canada. Yeah. You're going against Canada. They're going to want that in Canada. Are you kidding me? Like, they're going to remember that for the rest of their lives. So, yeah, unfortunately, did Canada have the skill to beat a team like Czechia? Yes, but I think they're just in their heads, and I feel like. I don't know. Can you compare them to the Oilers when they're playing a lesser team? They just think they're all that in a bag of chips, and then when puck drops, they just get outworked, and they take the team lightly. And I think we saw that far too many times in this tournament. They had the skilled players. You look who's left off the list. You've got Beckett Seneca. You've got Zane Perrick. Those are two top 10 first-rounders from this last year's draft. So who do you fault? Dave Cameron? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really necessarily agree with some of the decisions he made, but I mean, I think it's upper. I think it's in management. I think, you got to pick the most skilled players. In my opinion, you pick the most skilled players because they can adapt to wherever you put them on the ice more so than just guys like just because they play a more complete game. That doesn't mean that you can get a skilled player to play that role. That doesn't mean that. So, yeah, I'm a little butthurt this morning. Butthurt. That's 2 years in a row. Canada hasn't freaking medaled. So it sucks. It really does. And I don't know where we go from here. But I will say this.
You're living to live another day, though. You'd be
yes. Not once did Tube mention refereeing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're taking the high road here.
No, and that's the thing. Could they have? But referee or not, this team is more than skilled enough to get more goals in. They are. You can't blame it on the refs. Like, you look at what they were able to do all tournament long. They could not put the puck in the net. They did, but not as much as you would have liked looking at this roster.
Do I have this right? Canada got 1 5-on-5 goal.
Canada led the tournament in penalty minutes by a long distance, and their shooting percentage was near or at the foot of the table. So those two things combined. Now, you can't blame it on penalties, but when you are spending most of your time, a man down or whatever it is, and I know they got a shorty last night, but I mean, come on. The ISOCAMs in the family is way too much. Enough already, Jason says. There's a lot going on with that. And then there's a lot of just, Tube mentions the hype and then it's this feeding into the attitude of well, we are better than everybody and we should be beating everybody. And when you don't, when you lose to a Latvia and you get perimeter shots and a hot goalie, end of the world. Well, it's not, and it doesn't need to be. But then you need to be better, and you need to find ways to get better as an organization, as a whole, I think. And I would agree, too, that it starts at the top. It starts at the top in hiring a guy like Dave Cameron to do the job.
But listening to that, looking at the reaction online, I don't think there are many people that have faith that Hockey Canada has the self-reflection, the self-awareness to make the necessary change.
Yeah, and in terms of taking the talent, I mean, we can go back to this. We're going to get rolling with the show, but just growing up and watching people play hockey in this country at a very minor level, it was the size of the wallet or the occupation, shall we say, of your parents or whatever the case is. I saw a lot of talented peers growing up that maybe were on the wrong side of the financial ledger, shall we say, who didn't get really the same shake that a lot of other guys got. Now, not to say that that's a blanket thing that happens coast to coast to coast, and it happens with every association.
Oh, it probably does. It probably does.
Thank you for taking that and running with it, because that's I think we've all been in an instance where we've seen somebody or known of a story or no, like you don't get in the NHL. Hey, X player, and what a story it is. I think Jordan Tutu may be the only one that and correct me if I'm wrong. Give me another one. 780-218-9999. Where are those rags to riches stories when it comes to the sport? And the people that kind of, shouldn't be here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, find their way here by hook or by crook, and then talent, takes them to. It's never that case. It's never that case. It's almost the complete opposite, where you see a player and say, well, one day he'll be in the NHL. And now he just needs to cross the boxes and check the lines in order to do that and get there on an honorable path. But it's just we almost give these kids their crown before they've even had to put in the work or do anything to achieve it. And I think that starts. It starts early and it starts at the top with this federation
like
and minor hockey.
Undermined by the adults here. And they are young men. I understand that, but they were undone. Again, in keeping with the let's not criticize the teenagers, that the adults in the room did not do the best to serve the players.
Yeah,
fair.
And that's why I kind of take that to the minor hockey example as well, where you can kind of mirror those two. And if that's the state of it, yes, symposium all the way. 780-218-9999. Loomis says Vinny Desharnais. Frank says Joe Murphy. Loomis says Derek Ryan. Yeah, but
what's Joe Murphy's path to the NHL?
We know the path.
We know what's happened
after,
and the difficulties.
And Derek Ryan, going to universities, I wouldn't say is necessarily.
Yeah, Jordan Tutu is the last one that I'm aware of. But you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a hard Scrabble path.
A good story. Yes. Hey, he's achieved something, and instead of just being handed something, I guess. But 780-218-9999. We are coming to you live from the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Studio as well. Go to Popeyes today. If you got that feeling in the pit of your stomach, fill it up with Popeyes. Get some wings, bone in, bone out, whatever you want today. It's Friday, so you owe it to yourself. Treat yourself at Popeyes following last night's loss. Just getting to the morning announcements. There were other sports going on last night for 100.3 The Bear, Edmonton's best rock. Had a little conversation with Scott McCord earlier. He's still slogging away on his own. I think UConn's some sort of tropical vacation here. A busy night in the NHL. Of course, Oilers Ducks tonight. We will get you set for that throughout the day, but starting at 6 with the GCL Diesel pregame show, Tom Gazol will have it here on EST, previewing the Oilers and Ducks. Last night, Sharks snapping an 8-game slide. They would defeat Tampa 2-1 down in the tank. Thatcher Demko, injury watch. Rick Tocchet said he was suffering back spasms. He'd get yanked from the game and not return as Vancouver would hang on to beat Seattle 4-3 in a shootout. The Golden Knights, they've won 7 of 8. They dumped Philly 5-2. Utah snapping a 5-game skid. They'd knock off the Flames 5-3. Devon Taves scoring in overtime. Colorado edging Buffalo 6-5. Ducks, who will be in town tonight. They played a little extra hockey last night, winning in overtime out in Winnipeg 4-3 over the Jets. Troy Terry with a pair. Ducks have won 3 in a row.
Don't look now.
Rupe Hintz had a pair. Stars double up Ottawa 4-2. Bobby McMahon with a pair as the Leafs double up the Islanders 2-1. Isles drop their third straight. Detroit, the Wings, that Todd McClellan bump you were talking about. They went 3 in a row, 5-4 over the Blue Jackets. Minnesota over Washington, 4-3 in a shootout. Ovechkin, though, goal 871. He is now 24 away from the Great Ones record, so we'll be keeping an eye and continuing to monitor that. New York Rangers getting the win column 2-1 over the Bruins. Jonathan Quick win .399 on his career as the Rangers snap a 4-game slide. And Sergei Bobrovsky, 37 saves and a loss. Hurricanes dump the Panthers 3-1. Other action at the World Juniors yesterday. Sweden would hang on to defeat Latvia 3-2. In Finland over Slovakia 5-3. That sets up a semifinal between those two Scandinavian nations. That'll be a hell of a game. Sweden-Finland in the semis. Give me a little of that, hey? We all like a little Scandinavia. Norway sitting on the sidelines in the Ross Atkins chair. USA as well, never in doubt. You like
the
Norway.
Ross Atkins chair.
Draped in a Norwegian flag.
Right.
Yeah.
Wearing a Latvia hat.
Sure. Yeah. USA 7-2 over the Swiss. They will take on Czechia tomorrow night at 5:30. The Finns and the Swedes will go at it tomorrow afternoon in semifinal action. Oil Kings, they'll visit Lethbridge tonight to kick off a home and away. Raptors back on the court tonight. They'll host the Magic. Bowl action yesterday. Hey, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. Ole Miss dominating Duke 52-20. And in the Sugar Bowl, it was the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, 23-10 victors. The 5 seed takes out number 2. Notre Dame advanced to take on Penn State. In the semis, Ohio State will face Texas in the other semi. You got a pair of bowl games today, Dave, and I know you've had these circled on your calendar for a long time. The First Responder Bowl this afternoon, North Texas, the Mean Green, taking on the Texas State Bobcats, kickoff at 2. And then the Duke's Mayo Bowl tonight, where they dump the mayonnaise.
Yes,
Minnesota taking on the Hokies of Virginia Tech down in Charlotte. That's a 5:30 kickoff for the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
I'm looking at the Washington Capitals schedule for the rest of the way, trying to project.
There's a game.
Well, they play the Oilers February 23rd.
Yep.
That would be optimistic that he would have 24 goals by then. But I'm just trying to think what would
he was
be
on a good clip before the injury. So
yeah,
maybe
true. I'm just trying to think. We'll get back to it. We'll analyze a little more deeply as we go through the course of the program. But I am just sifting through to see what would be maximum impact for him to tie and then beat Gretzky.
When do you think he's going to get it? Give us throw a dart at the schedule of the Washington Capitals, if you will. It is kind of a fun game to play. We should have had a bit of a raffle here or something. What do you do? Like you can pick a square,
like a meat draw.
A meat draw for when Ovechkin
meat draw.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's
you win
all,
a roast.
It's all the cut-off sandwich meats type of thing. Yeah,
yes.
All processed. 780-218-9999 is the number to text once again. Bones, George Laraque and Sean Bell for players who kind of erupted from the ashes and carved out a career. I'll have that. Again, not too familiar with their stories, and that's kind of my point in being that, a lot of these guys, the stories aren't out there that we publicize so much. You don't
and
hear
some
about.
people don't want to tell their backstory.
And that's fair enough, too. Yeah. I'm totally here for the privacy aspect of it. But my point was that they're not front and center. It's not like when you think about it. I mean, you think about football in the States so much, that is an escape from certain walks of life to get a degree, go to college, get on the team, get a scholarship, and then make something of yourself. But I guess it's just a little different here with hockey. And I think that kind of bleeds into how things operate at a federation level.
Why is my Roadcaster not lit up today? Do I not have it fired up, or
there's
do I
a
need
red button at the back, right? If you no,
okay, I'll turn that on later because I feel a little naked
that's
here.
the one there. Yeah.
there?
And you got to hold it for a bit. Yeah.
Got to hold it. Okay.
And now you watch the lights do a bit of a show.
Here we go.
There,
Yeah. Got it.
TubeSock says I could have made the NHL, but my parents couldn't afford to send me to the proper evaluation and skills camps. Trev agrees.
What? Hold on. You could have made the NHL?
Please.
I like my chances. I agree with Tube there. Didn't have the funds. Didn't have, I was in a town, a very, very small town. So we didn't have any of the assets that any of the people in the city have. Right?
Was that a thing?
That's what I blame it on.
Was it a thing though? Was that ever discussed at your level? Like I know because
I played with some really, really good players, very skilled players, and they just yeah, like they didn't have anything by us. Like the closest town where there was a league was Lethbridge, but it was like an hour and 30 away. And so I don't know.
You wouldn't get as many eyes constantly on them, I guess.
Not at all. So there
Fall
is
through
that.
the cracks.
There is that, and that's what happened with me. I'm just joking.
Well, you can pony up to that too. Like, why not? Grab a seat and
See the way he pulled us along on that journey, and then he goes, "I'm just kidding." By the way,
Listen,
they closed the season. The Capitals played the Penguins April 17th. Do it there.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
There's probably a couple of dates and a couple of opposition where you could say, oh, this would be an interesting kind of, you want home ice, you want it away, do you want to, I don't know. When do you think Ovie does it? 780-218-9999 or Hockey Canada Symposium as well. We're taking your texts. We're going to figure this thing out. We're going to move on. Again, Dave said an MP should be standing up today. I would agree.
Private members bill.
The House of Commons, all those things. Dudley says Ovechkin breaks Gretzky's scoring record February 23 against the Oilers. Book it. It would be... That'd be a good kind of moneymaker. I mean,
Yes.
Things are meant to happen and kind of guided to happen in certain ways, and
Divined.
it is kind of the date is.
It's at 11 a.m. We know what we think about matinees for the Oilers.
Nacho Man says I blame Brett Kissel. That's and some people want to just blame random Oilers for Hockey Canada last night. Maybe Ted Lasso could do the same for Hockey Canada. That's what he did for English football.
Now, to pick
Soccer.
up on Jim Matheson's tweet, does Connor McDavid tweet or message members of Team Canada?
You had to go there, didn't you?
Well, I had to, yes.
And how about Connor McDavid, hey? With his little tweet yesterday, his little X.
Was it cryptic? I didn't catch it.
We'll
What did he
leave it
offer
at
up?
this. Connor McDavid yesterday, 16 hours ago on Twitter, at CMCDavid97.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, period, at AM34, which is Austin Matthews' handle. Crossbar and in. Let's see it. Boys.
What does that mean?
What does it mean? Trade deadline looms. I'll throw that out there. Trev, what do you think this is? This is a marketing stunt. If we've ever
Oilers
seen one.
looking to add forward depth.
Depth.
Just depth.
Just bottom
Just
up.
depth. We're not asking you to score.
No.
Just
a big body.
be a big body in front, veteran presence, and we don't need you every night. Yeah.
Has to be some sort of marketing campaign.
This is-
It's going to be a
gotta think.
video. It's going to be a video. He's going to do it,
tease.
and then he's going to shout out another. It's going to be someone else in the league.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it's going to be. And they're both. They both are. They both by CCM, I believe. Yeah.
Social media got us again.
It's got to be some sort of promotional. Yeah, I just find Connor McDavid's such a. I mean, if you scroll through his
He's such a
feed,
funny
there's-
guy.
Well, he's up to his old tricks again, eh? like,
Not Connor McDavid. He's
well
He's a
curated.
funny guy.
I mean, I there's no way he even wrote that. Like,
I don't think so.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just
imagine
but he
he's
approved.
we all
someone
assume like, hey, if you
goes-
tweet at the president, they might
Yes,
or her
he.
might respond back. It's kind of that thing, but it's crossbar and in. Let's see it. As Tube pointed out, it's got to be some drink the pink type of they'll all be on Gary Roberts' driveway and some sort of a video. 6:30.
All wearing those Gary Roberts neck rolls. Remember
Sure.
when he had those?
Maybe that's what this is all about. Neck rolls. I like that. We've brought it home. We'll get to a sports update here from YouTube, Trev, for the fine folks at Nisku Glass. The CFL tampering window. It's right around the corner. I'll just leave it at that. That'll be my own Connor McDavid cryptic tweet for the hour. Coming up, we'll go, that's good for the Italian Center shop. That hurts. And we got some packs to crack here, courtesy Tim Hortons. This is the Nielson Show. Lieutenant Eric, Dave Jamieson, YouTube Trev on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Just like that, yesterday in the quarterfinals, Team Canada loses to Czechia by the score of 4-3. This is the second year in a row that Canada has not medaled. Elsewhere in the World Juniors, Germany beats Kazakhstan 4-3. Sweden over Latvia 3-2 is the score. Americans all over the Swiss 7-2. And the Finns get by the Slovaks 5-3 is your score. Czechia will now go on to play USA in the semifinals, while the Finns will take on the Swedes, both games scheduled for tomorrow. To the NHL we go. 12 games in the NHL last night, including the Maple Leafs getting by the Islanders. 2-1 is the score. The Ducks edge out the Jets 4-3 in overtime. The Stars double up on the Sens 4-2. The Utah Hockey Club defeat the Flames 5-3, and the Canucks 4-3 winners in the shootout over the Kraken. Tonight in the NHL, the Oilers are back in action against the Anaheim Ducks. You can join Tom Gazzola for the GCL Diesel pre- and post-game shows. Coverage starts at 6 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. 4 other games tonight, including the Penguins and Panthers, Canadians and Blackhawks. Senators take on the Blues, and the Predators visit the Canucks. To the WHL we go. 10 games going on tonight, including the Oil Kings making a trip down south to take on the Hurricanes. Puck drop for this one goes at 7 o'clock, and to finish things off in the NBA, the Raptors are one of 9 games scheduled around the association tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. Tip-off for this one goes at 5:30. The Sports Update is brought to you by Nisku Glass. We want to thank EST and all the listeners and viewers, and what better way to do that than give them a deal? Mention Edmonton Sports Talk or present your Nasty Club membership for a 10% discount on windshields, glass, or any of your window and door orders. Call us today to get that ugly broken windshield replaced or to start planning your winter and spring renovation projects now.
The Nielson Show featuring Lieutenant Eric. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk.
It is the Nielson Show. Lieutenant Eric, Dave Jamieson in for Dustin Nielson, who will be back Monday. YouTube Trev on the sports updates and behind the monitors. Minus 24, a chilly start to the day. Only a high of minus 19 for today. A cooler weekend. Should see temperatures warm up, looks like by Tuesday. So we'll live through that. I can get used to these short weeks, though, like the Wednesday off. You got that. You love this, eh? You're in the Friday mood. But a Wednesday off, like a New Year's Day, you could have your 3-day work weeks. I don't mind the 2, the off, and then the 2 again. Then you hit the weekend.
I found it awkward, but I don't have a job to go back to other than this, of course.
Your routine is
so. But it was strange. Like I if I didn't have you to tell me it's Friday, I might not know.
It doesn't. Thursday was the most Mondayest of Thursdays that we've seen in a long time here. 780-218-9999 is the Paris Jewelers inbox. Come hard after that $20 to A&W. I think William Mike Spear still in the lead with comparing Hockey Canada to Canada's successes at the Copa Americas. But I did see one in here from Dolphin Nation. Ralph Kruger might be the answer for Hockey Canada. He did wonders in England. Dolphin Nation. And you love a good Ralph Kruger drop, do you not?
And I say that, and I perked up when Dolphin Nation fired that our way, and because Bob Stauffer once referred to Ralph Kruger, not on air, no, maybe he did on air, as the Deepak Chopra of hockey.
Okay.
And I didn't quite know what that meant, but it sounded funny as hell.
And I think that's what he's going for. It's not necessarily the substance. It's more of the pop.
Yeah,
the pop from the...
exactly. It's the effect, the bounce.
Rusty Shackelford chimes in. LTE, will you formally announce your Dunya Tea movement to Las Vegas this AM with JMO hosting? That is the real symposium, not a Hockey Canada one. Tut. I'll leave it at this. In terms of any Dunya movement, nobody can relocate to Vegas based on the fact that Scott McCord's original franchise was based out of there. We cannot return to a franchise.
So Nick Maletti has taken the posse out.
McCord was there for a year, and that was it. We only had 1 year of parking lot practices, and then
on the strip.
And then we took the show to Shreveport. On the strip, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Relocation, yes.
And then he won a championship the next year. So I'm just saying it's a bit of a formula that I may be following at the
Calvillo goes to Hamilton in a dispersal draft, and then you went all in with Billy Joe Tolliver.
There's got to be a Cody Ledbetter drop in here somewhere, hey? Too soon? Yeah, I know. Let's get to that's good for the Italian Center shop right now. Again, we have a lot of food sponsors on this program, and good on it, because it's Friday. It's the morning after, the day after Canada, out of the World Juniors. If you want to get feeling good again, visit some of these vendors, namely the Italian Center shop. They'll get you where you need to go. They got the pizzas. They got the take and bake pastas. You can even buy some nice homemade sauce there, bring it home and make your own pasta if you wish. Great produce, the whole bit. Or dine in. I like dining in there at the Italian Center, specifically on the West End. You get a little glass of wine. You can get your pizza. They'll make it for you there, bring it to your table. You have your little number. It feels like you're in a European cafe.
How about the downtown location?
I don't mess with that one. That's like Wannick's turf. I stay the hell out of there. He's warned me a couple of times.
It's the OG.
He'll walk over, he'll place a gun on the table and just walk away, and I get the message. The West is mine. Him and Tommy got the downtown.
And it's the gun under the napkin, the red napkin. Just the linen
What's
napkin.
that digging into my hip?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Matthew again.
Yes.
Italian Center Shop. Check them out today. Great stuff. West Side location as well, in kind of that nook with Wayne Sports Cards and the rest. That's good. I'm going to say it. I think it's good that Canada lost last night in the fashion they did. We've been bitching and complaining about this team since the start of the tournament. Maybe not albeit the 3-0 win against Finland, but you saw the cracks, you saw the deficiencies. So they make it to the semifinals. To get what, spanked? I just think when you have something going on, and I kind of go back to the Elks as well, in that, we if we win 3 more games and the other team loses 4, we could make the playoffs.
Oh, it's one of those, yes.
And then what happens? You make the playoffs, and you maybe fluke out a win. You're then saving jobs and prolonging the inevitable at that point.
Okay, that's where I wanted to go with this. So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is by losing last night in the fashion that they did, and their performance overall in this tournament is going to force the decisions that need to get made about Hockey Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think too.
So this is if you may not like this phrasing, a good loss because it'll force seismic change.
Open up. I got the tablespoon of Buckley's, and we're driving it in. And you're going to take it, and I might even give you another.
Like it.
And you'll like it. And it's not going to taste good. But home ice, we talked, they went on the panel about the hot start, and you need and boom, Czechia got in the back. Like, I thought going out of that opening period down 2-1 would be a win. Given the fact that they were outshot, given the fact that they had the 5-minute major, given the fact that they were scored on early. I mean, the hand goal into the own goal, they call it, it's an own goal when you bet it. But all those things considered, like what they needed to do last night, they didn't. And we've seen the lack of execution. And again, you can blame that on coaching. You can blame it on player selection. Every answer is right this morning. But again, you come on, you find your way in the game. They had Czechia on their heels. Yeah, it was good vibes near the end. And you're thinking, well, they tie this one up, and then they go to overtime. And so what? So what if you squeak past, and maybe it's some revenge on Czechia that you can posterize and put up and say, we got their number. Then you make it into the semis, and then what? This tournament gets stronger as you go along, as most do. And I just think to save yourself an embarrassment and a shellacking, and to kind of say, hey, we've lost 2 times in a row. All the insiders and analysts now are tweeting this morning, 2 years in a row to Czechia. We're all having the jokes about it. Good. That's what you need to get the work done and to, as you say, force the hand of some people to make the necessary changes.
I'll say it. You're not a good Canadian. You're an enemy of the state.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
You want to see the Elks lose, do you? Oh, you're not a fan. No. I want to skip all the BS, and I want to get to the answers. I want to get to the questions, and I want those questions answered. And sometimes you have to do it this way. And for an organization to fall flat on its face on home ice, again, as we said, this isn't a 6 a.m. puck drop in Prague where we can all kind of go about our work days and go to the office
and follow it on Twitter,
right? Maybe it had to happen this way, and maybe a lowercase not an uppercase.
What was the tube? Maybe you know this because you probably follow this more closely than I do. What was the justification for leaving off the players they left off? What was the big statement we've selected this roster?
Daddy's wallet.
What was it?
Daddy's wallet? Like from my understanding, it was just getting, they didn't want to have the most skilled team. They didn't want to approach it like that for whatever reason. They felt like they wanted to take guys that can play this role better, take guys that, can play a better, 200-foot game. That's all I read. That's all I heard was they left off the skilled guys because they wanted a more complete team.
There's the old 200-foot game.
Yeah, and look at that. How did that turn out for you?
Boy, that's the go-to line. Hey, when you want to explain a bad decision.
Well, your first sentence,
200 foot.
Well, no, but just And again, we can't explain it in this room. We can try, but we're not going to find it. But not taking the talent.
Yeah.
So
that lands hard.
Like, I'd never seen this before with so many names. Usually it's one guy that the roster snub, but like so many, 4 or 5 players that are locks, that should have been locks on this team.
You know, we missed last night. This is a dated reference, but some of you older viewers may get this. We needed Phil Esposito to speak to the nation between periods.
Okay.
Which you did in 72.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that.
We'll take anything at this point, I think. But again, the speaking, the bar down, the ISO cams on the families. We need to focus our gaze.
Yes.
And as to put it, pick. Again, they don't have this problem in the States. They pick talent. They nobody cares. Nobody debates. Nobody says, "Oh, I wanted this guy because he's my nephew." Just go with the best. And I don't care what the cameras are on, and I don't care about anything else. And you can do all that fun afterwards, after you have the success. I get it. And maybe Hockey Canada thinks it's built up so much in terms of credit and clout over the years that they can. But anyways, the last 2 years of World Juniors, Canada, Russia both haven't shown up to the tournament. Dave the Welder.
Okay, you see, I got it, you got it, but then Trev was late arriving on scene and went,
mind the gap, but he got on the platform. He got on.
I was gonna play this.
Hot take alert.
That's good. That was a good one.
Dave the Welder coming hard after William Mikespear. You know what? That's in terms of that Copa America one. Have we pipped that?
You know what? That's sneaky good.
It's very good.
That's sneaky.
That's
good
very
stuff.
good. And
yes.
he didn't add a lull or a JK or any of that. He
no.
It was in and out.
No.
He's serious. He's serious. As he should be.
He's
Dave
factual.
the Welder, we're
Factual.
putting you near the top right now. You are in the lead for the A&W text of the day. Come after him, 780-218-9999. But look, I was going to take that's good for the Italian Center Shop in that direction this morning, saying sometimes it is good to suffer, sometimes it is good to feel a little pain, and sometimes it is good to have your pants pulled down and bare butt spanked in prime time on your home soil. And they got it. And I think the heartbreaking, crushing fashion that it was late with 40 seconds left, hopefully drives that point home to the people that need to listen.
From a bygone era, I could see a columnist or a Terry Jones saying Canada soils itself on home soil.
Text that in. You might be going to A&W.
Yes.
You might be going to A&W, Dave.
I have to step out of the studio and text back into the show to qualify.
Troll says,
Yeah.
This is what Canada did with the Four Nations team as well. Plugs instead of talent, he says in brackets. That
I gotta
team
pull
might
up
be
that roster again for
well,
Four
and he
Nations.
says that team might be saved by McDavid, McKinnon, and McCarr, though. And that's a good point. But when it comes to team selection, and as I'm saying this, from Timbits hockey all the way up to the Four Nations,
let me just get that Four Nations roster.
there is sometimes biases or politics involved in selecting the players that make up those rosters. Norman, a combine. Canada wins, more like Canada loses. 4 exclamation points. Don't know if that'll be getting you to A&W today. Bones says, I blame the goalie coach. Carter George got worse every game, so it must be coaching. That
is uniquely Canadian.
I know it. Well, and
to
Bones
blame the goalie coach.
Well, especially in this market, I think I know what Bones is doing there. So very crafty.
I like that a great deal.
Very crafty.
Yes.
Rob from LA, getting back to the minor hockey point. Most elite minor hockey teams are regional, not out-of-town kids. They're behind to start. Teams are 90% determined before tryouts. Haas says Tube's dad couldn't afford to buy a junior team for him to play on.
This is true. He's not wrong.
The Michael Federick. There's an old CFL. Come on.
Johnny Forzani, if you will.
Yes.
Chris the Plumber says, we were spoiled in Edmonton watching McDavid and Leon because watching Canada's power play was absolutely horrid. Rob the Plumber, morning, fellas. I guess the Canadian hockey team didn't use enough drones in their prep game for the Czechs. Regardless of all things being said and done, it took until 30 minutes till the last period to show some urgency.
What they just did there.
That's the old Canada soccer drone thing. They can't, that.
Hello, John Herdman. Please pick up the nearest white courtesy phone.
Maybe this is where he lands next.
In hockey?
He's done the whole Canada soccer. He's done everybody, the TFC, the men's, the women's. He's been disgraced. Maybe now he gets into the reverse Ralph Kruger, I think they call it.
He comes into the Hockey Canada boardroom and say, I've got a plan for you.
This is a
I need about
drone.
12 drones.
I need an army of drones.
I need an army of drones.
Rob the Plumber goes on to say, took to the last 30 minutes to show some urgency and aspiration and play the way they could have played the entire tournament. A very, very selfish team that would not use anybody or make the easy pass for some sure goals. We may be the kings of hockey, but we've got a long way to go. Just my 2 cents. Love the show.
Four Nations roster. I'm looking at it and reacquainting myself with it. Who would qualify in the minds of the Nasties as plugs on this?
Read me some,
Sam
if
Bennett,
you will.
Anthony Cirelli,
Okay.
Sidney Crosby, Brandon Hagel, Seth Jarvis, Travis Konechny, Nathan McKinnon, Brad Marchand, Mitch Marner, Connor McDavid, Braden Point, Sam Reinhart, Mark Stone. Those are your forwards, okay? If you need me to recap, I can. Defense, you've got Makar, Josh Morrissey, Colton Parayko, Alex Pietrangelo, Travis Sanheim, Shea Theodore, and Devin Tays. Okay, and your goaltenders are Jordan Bennington, Aiden Hill, and Sam Montembeau.
I replied to Troll on the Paris Drewlers inbox. Dave wants you to go deeper and name names when it comes to plugs. We'll await his. Because you can't just, you're right. You throw plugs out there. Well, name the names. I'd love to hear them.
I mean, I'm looking at that, and it doesn't scream like, fourth line depth guy who had a really good agent who lobbied hard and got his guy on the team. You know what I'm...
Yep. Name names, Troll. Name names. 780-218-9999. We'll go into that hurts right now for James H. Brown injury lawyers, and it's kind of funny.
Trent Brown on the All Legends team, by the way.
Yeah.
For the Edmonton Eskimos.
I see his face everywhere I go in the city.
You should.
Plastered everywhere. The guy gets around, and again, if you need some help, if you maybe Hockey Canada, just saying, just floating it out there.
Been in an accident? Call James H. Brown.
JamesHBrown.com. They are the lawyers, the attorneys at hand. If you've been injured, go to them, see them today. That hurts as Canada losing in the World.
It's good, but it also hurts.
Right? Can we not? I mean, we're going to be...
itself.
It's the topic of the day.
Writes itself.
Chris Johnston, The Athletic, and he'll be coming up at around 7:05. We'll take a deeper dive. We'll get his thoughts on the tournament as a whole and get into Oilers and Ducks as the show breathes on. But I think it can be a good and a bad thing, right? It can be good that they lost and this gets figured out and sussed out. That's my brain talking. But now let's go.
Can be found in a pile of despair.
Yes, but now going to the heart... And from just a general fan point of view.
Yes.
And it's funny that Hurts is brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, because we did have our lawyer, Eric Macramella, in attendance last night. And I did find a few nasties caught that, sending us the pics, tweeting at us. I think our little group text chat as well caught it. But I did tweet out a still of his face from the crowd. And I just had one word, Daddy. And I tagged him in the picture. And after the game,
is that you?
He did confirm that it was him, because some people were saying maybe it's a long lost brother or something, an Egyptian, another, Macramella lookalike, as he,
a random Egyptian in the crowd
wearing a Macramella mask, if you will. But it does hurt. It does hurt that you lose. And again, it's good and it's bad. Head, heart, right? The head, it's good. The heart, it does suck this morning. Losing back-to-back years. It's a home tournament. Nation's capital. We're not playing this out in, Brandon. You know what I'm saying? Like this is
at the multiplex.
This is Ottawa.
Yes.
This is the place. So it does hurt. It does sting. It hurts watching those ISO cams that focus on the parents. Some kid goes into the penalty box, and then we're watching his mom for the next 2 minutes as he's the reason
and the
for the
sister
goal
who can't look as they wind down a penalty kill.
It's terrible stuff, man. And then we go to the panel, and James Duthie is sunken, and O-Dog wants to kick the crap out of somebody just because he can't wrap his mind around embellishment.
I don't know for O-Dog if there's a greater crime in the sport than an embellishment. Or an outright dive.
It's going to get to him. Like that'll be the end of him.
Embellishment. Away
it'll
every fiber.
It's the long play on him.
Yeah.
But it hurts. And again, if you didn't see the picture and you didn't see Macramella, they only put the good-looking people on television. Eric Macramella down there last night among the throngs in the stands. And I think the still that I got of him and tweeted at Lieutenant_Eric really kind of sums up the pain that we feel during this morning. And that hurts for James H. Brown Injury Lawyers. Daddy? He did reply. It says, Daddy, indeed. Brutal end. had them in their heels in the third. Then the refs did their thing again, he said. Okay. So Mac Ramel is coming hard after the officials. The first on the show this morning. He says EST legal analyst and guy that sued the refs. And I love you. He ended that X with. So is there anything else?
My level of expectation for international sporting events is that the refereeing will be inconsistent at best. Fair?
Yes, it always should be. Any
so
sort of fishing.
I build that in to my, and I'm not a guy that flails away at the referee pinata, but when I see a tournament like this and I know I'm going into it, I go, yeah, it's Canada or not. There's going to be a moment, likely more than one, where you think, oh God. That is a unique interpretation of the rule book as we understood it.
And they're also being graded last night as well for international tournaments coming up. I mean, the refs are on display, and their governing body is looking at them and saying, hey, are these guys up to snuff? But yeah, when you do find yourself on the level blaming officials, and I understand there's sometimes a call that can directly affect a result, but I don't think Canada, the riches that they've had, need to get into that muck or need to be saying, hey, if it wasn't for the... No, you can and you should have, and you have the talent somewhere in this country to play better. And even if you do get a few bad calls against you, you should be able to rise above that.
Correct.
Any day of the week.
Yes. On home ice.
On home ice, for crying out loud.
Needs to get repeated.
Nasty Chat's humming along with some very long-winded messages. Safety Bob says, why did it take until last night to give McKenna top-line minutes? I don't care how young he is. He should have been top-line from game one. He wasn't even top-line power play at the start. SMH. I think that means shake my head. Bootsky says, obviously they picked the wrong team, not a problem that can be fixed halfway through the quarterfinal. Loomis says, I thought you were calling them all plugs for a second, LOL. No, that was the troll. Yeah, and we'll see if the troll. Yeah, there's better players, he responds, than Cirelli, Hagel, Parayko, Sanheim, Montembeau, in my opinion. Plugs was probably a bad word to use. Okay, and that's fine. Picking less skilled guys for the team selectors players, Parayko, Cirelli. So I think that's fair, and I think a guy like Colton Parayko, I think that was mentioned as well when he did get selected, that maybe we do have the management connection with Team Canada and the Blues, so but again, this is hockey, this is the state of hockey in this country, and if we're just waking up to that this morning, and it takes a 4-3 loss to Czechia on home ice to kind of hammer that point home, so be it. That hurts for James H. Brown injury lawyers. We got Chris Johnston. Is he in the bullpen? Or no, perfect. So we got a few minutes. We're going to crack some packs here for Wayne's Sports Cards, the crack pack. And I was planning to go to Wayne's yesterday, slipped my mind. Go check out Wayne's for the new year. It's more than cards, Legos, the whole bit, collectibles, even Pog Keenies and Slammers that you can get those. With the But we're going to be cracking I found some Tim Hortons packs lying around.
Oh, come on now.
I didn't do it this year.
From the most recent run?
Yeah, but you remember when I buy the binder and really exhaust my checking account on the meet weird people in alleys, that type of thing. Didn't do that this year. I stayed. Dusty tried to tempt me, and I'd say, not today, Satan. And I'd throw the cards back at him. And so we didn't do that this year. But hey, we found some packs, so we got 3. We'll crack them here.
Sure.
Trev,
let's do it.
Boom. Dave, here you go. And we'll see what we get.
Okay,
the Tim Hortons.
Do we do it on the count of 3?
24, 25. Just as you do. You can use your mouth to open them. I mean, whatever you want. Ooh.
This ain't working.
Thatcher Demko base card. A Sidney Crosby
spasms.
True North Future. This is a nice one. Sid the Kid.
Is the mic picking that up? I hope so.
And Robert Thomas of Matchbox 20.
Hello. Let me go here. Logan Couture, Sharks, all teal.
That's a beautiful piece.
You've got in the flying skate, Quinn Hughes. Hold that up to the camera. Is that
that's a nice?
Up any glare off that? Can I tip it that way? Any glare coming off the camera there? And then Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets got off to a terrific start this year. The Jets did, but they lost to the Ducks in OT last night.
And they did. Ducks are hot.
Yeah.
Got Geno Malkin. Nice one. That looks good. Look at that. I've got Frozen Hot Shots. Austin Matthews.
The very same mentioned in the Connor McDavid tweet yesterday.
There he is. Yeah. I wonder where he is. There he is.
The future Oiler.
Right off the IR. And this is a good one. 10th edition. Okay, look at this. Zach Hyman.
Where are you?
Zach Hyman, baby. Let's go.
He's got the crack cam over there. He's got it. See it?
Right there.
Yeah.
Zachary.
You can put that next to your, what is it, 6x8 or whatever?
Hey, Zach. Yeah.
Did you frame that yet?
Attack.
I haven't framed it yet, but I have it right by my little studio.
You're going to have like a Hyman shrine.
Yeah.
A little candle.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
No better guy than Zach Hyman. That was good.
That's the Crack Pack. Once again, we did some Tim Hortons this morning, but check out Wayne's Sports Cards West End in the same strip mall across from West End as the Italian Center shop. More than just cards, though, at Wayne's. Go see the staff. Tell them EST sent you. And Legos, the whole bits, comics, all that stuff. So it's a neat little place to kill a little time, walk around, and I doubt you'll be leaving empty-handed. Chris Johnston of The Athletic and TSN is on the way to kick off hour number 2. We will start the symposium or continue on with the symposium with him. It's going to be a symposium until next year's tournament, correct? Like we're kind of, it should always be on the top of your mind.
Navel gazing.
June 10th. We'll get back to it, right? So Chris Johnston will be by. We'll get his thoughts on the Canada's exit, the tournament still to come, and of course Oilers and Ducks to come tonight. Coolback Canada hotline of the day around 7:20. We still got bowl action to come as well. Herm Edwards will get his thoughts on bowl season and the final week of the NFL regular season, leading into Wild Card weekend and the Fan Zone for Fans First, all on the way in hour number 2. And once again, come hard after that A&W $20. Dave the Welder, I think, still in the lead. But 780-218-9999. Troll is back in. I'm sure Leafs fans will say the tweet means McDavid to Toronto in the offseason confirmed. Oh, there was a lot of that going on. Believe you me. Check out the tweet. Check out the replies. I mean, that's one of the bigger... But what does the tweet mean as well? We can play that game this morning. Once again, Connor McDavid issuing a tweet yesterday as he's very busy on that platform. So it should come to no surprise. But at Austin Matthews, crossbarring in, let's see it. Maybe CJ knows the true meaning of the tweet. Hey, he's an insider.
He's taking his show on the road. Get to that, the CJ show.
Absolutely. And on YouTube, if you're watching, hit the thumbs up this morning. Smash that like and hit the sub if you haven't already. Once again, we did pass the 11,000 threshold. The pursuit for 12 begins and continues now in the new year in 2025. Nasty Chat's humming along as well. It's nice to see, but hit that thumbs up, smash the like this morning, and we'll continue on. Millwood's Matt says, speaking of Zach Hyman, why did he have such reduced minutes against Utah? We ever get an explanation? Well, we'll ask CJ as well leading up to that and in tonight's game against the Ducks, who, as Dave mentioned, victors in Winnipeg last night in overtime, 4-3 against the Jets. There'll be a tired squad coming here. So maybe some redemption tonight as well for the Oil.
Could Hyman have been feeling less than, given that he has just suffered a broken nose? I know he's playing with a bubble, but
it's. I know we love our hockey players tough.
Yes,
you always bring up the Rich Peverley model.
Mm-hmm. Died and came back.
But your whole breathing and all that, and getting a facial injury like that, it affects your conditioning to a degree. Taking in air, all that stuff. So I mean that could certainly have something to do with it, but. We'll see CJ's opinion on that. Let's get to a sports update here from YouTube. Trev, for the fine folks out at Green Plan. Once again, coming up next, Chris Johnston of The Athletic and TSN. More on Hockey Canada, more on the Oilers, and more on hockey in general. This is the Nielson Show. Lieutenant Eric Dave Jamieson here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Just like that, yesterday in the quarterfinals, Team Canada loses to Czechia by the score of 4-3. This is the second year in a row that Canada has not medaled. Elsewhere in the World Juniors, Germany beats Kazakhstan 4-3. Sweden over Latvia 3-2 is your score. Americans all over the Swiss 7-2, and the Finns get by the Slovaks 5-3 is the score in that one. Czechia will now go on to play USA in the semifinals, while the Finns will take on the Swedes. Both games are scheduled for tomorrow. To the NHL we go. 12 games in the NHL last night, including the Maple Leafs getting by the Islanders. 2-1 is the score in that one. The Ducks edge out the Jets 4-3 in overtime. The Stars double up on the Sens 4-2. The Utah Hockey Club defeat the Flames 5-3, and the Canucks are 4-3 winners in the shootout over the Kraken. Tonight in the NHL, the Oilers are back in action against the Anaheim Ducks. You can join Tom Gazzola for the GCL Diesel pre- and post-game shows. Coverage starts at 6 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. 4 other games tonight, including Penguins and Panthers, the Canadians and Blackhawks, Senators take on the Blues, and the Predators visit the Canucks. To the WHL we go. 10 games going on tonight, including the Oil Kings making a trip down south to take on the Hurricanes. Puck drop for this one goes at 7 o'clock. And to finish things off in the NBA, the Raptors are one of 9 games scheduled around the association tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. Tip-off for this one goes at 5:30. The sports update is brought to you by Green Plan, providing you with award-winning environmental and consulting services. Whether it's municipal, industrial, or residential, plan it right with Green Plan. Visit green-plan.com or give them a call at 780-455-4292.
What say you? Hey, nasty crew. We got the Nielson show flu, and there's nothing we can do about it. What say you? Hey, nasty crew. My wife thinks I got better things to do, but there's nothing I can do about it. We're tuning in or tune in, we're listening online. We catch up with the podcast when we fall behind. We're texting in the nasty chat, what's on our mind. 780-218-9999. No more interference from corporate interest. To Tussy and Eric and all of the bad cats like Brzezinski and Noodles. Gadget can gauge it, maybe it's fun but a cool band to make a little wager. We can't wait for the Monday mandate. Shaggy's always on time, Tommy's always late.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Forget about the old place. Hey, we were number 1 in the text race. We don't miss all the commercial breaks, but we sure miss Nickelback today. We wanna hear some hot takes and we wanna hear Renee. Why not hold the neck up when I wanna kiss away? Beat us to tie a fire and remember that name. We love every goal song, but what about the games? Macramel, Rapaport, Dragger, Engineer. It ain't Christmas season, but they sound like reindeer. Button and my cousin and the tales of the North. All the fucking game in person, Dusty go forth. What say you? AM Nasty crew. We got the Nielson show flu, and there's nothing we can do about it. And there's nothing we can do about it. And there's nothing we can do about it.
3, this is the Nielson Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, streaming on the iHeart and TuneIn radio apps, and live for your viewing pleasure on the YouTube. Hit the like, hit the sub if you haven't already this morning, and if you are watching, and get involved in that nasty chat. It's fun. Everybody's nice in there, and you can have your say on either Canada, the Oilers, or anything else percolating in the sporting world. Minus 24, high minus 19 at Edmonton and area today. A chilly weekend on tap, no precipitation, but we'll see things warming up by the start of next week. Paris Jewelers inbox is humming along as well. 780-218-9999. Come hard after that $20 to A&W, and the Nielsen Show, as always, presented by Southfort Chevrolet. Drive a little, save a lot. Check out the fine folks out in Fort Saskatchewan or online, www.southfortchev.com, as we await Chris Johnston. Looks like he's ready to go in the bullpen. Hey. We'll bring him in right now. Chris Johnston. You can find him at Reporter Chris on the X, and he joins us this morning for the fine folks at Pro-Am Sports and the Cooks and Boys, and they're a locally owned sports memorabilia and apparel specialist. They've just announced a private signing with Oilers Hall of Famer Grant Fuhr. So you can submit your items or select from theirs for this signing. They are located once again in Edmonton, corner of St. Albert Trail, 128th Ave, or online at proamsports.ca. Oilers at home to the Ducks tonight. We'll get to that with Chris, but we got to start with the topic of the day, of the evening last night, and probably of the coming weeks and months for Hockey Canada. Chris, I'm just going to allow you to have a free skate here and open things up, because we tried to, in the opening hour, see who or what was at fault for Canada, again, bowing out to Czechia, quarterfinals, home ice, nation's capital. Kind of said that maybe sometimes these things need to happen to force a hand on certain individuals or certain federations to make switches and changes. But where do you ultimately see this thing kind of coming down? Player selection, coaching selection, a combination of everything? Or if you want to take the official route, feel free to do so. But Chris, where did it all going to go wrong for Canada this time around in this tournament?
Well, I certainly won't take the official route. Don't like those calls in the game, but anyone who watched the entirety of this tournament understood that Canada wasn't prepared for whatever reason to be at its best. And, it's at the world junior level, the under 20 level, it's pretty shocking to see a Canadian team play 5 games on home ice with a lot of things tilted in its favor and only win 2 of those games. And so, to me, it starts with the player selection. I think they need to look at what they did ahead of the tournament. I think they need to figure out why they didn't practice at all. Once they got to Ottawa and started the actual event, I realize it's a pretty aggressive game schedule. You're playing, almost every day, but for one reason or another, this team never played with any purpose, didn't look prepared, let in a goal last night in the first period, in the first minute, in the last minute of the first period, in the last minute of the third period. It was a debacle. I don't think there's any way around that. And I'm not going to blame the players specifically. Obviously, they're the ones on the ice who didn't get the job done. But I feel like the failings happened before they got to that game. They weren't in a position to have the amount of success that we've come to expect. And I do think Hockey Canada is going to have to answer some hard questions in the wake of this.
Chris, what is the process then for deconstructing this? How does Hockey Canada go about the process of self-reflection and self-awareness, and then to come out the other side and not repeat this again?
Well, I don't know if we're at the stage where we're going to have another summit, which you might remember happened a lot of years ago when Canada wasn't having the kind of international hockey success that it was accustomed to. But, I think that it has to be, look at it. It's not an organization that is public facing in a sense. I mean, obviously they collect funds from the public, but they have to get there themselves, I think, and figure out where, things went wrong, put a finger on, what didn't happen right. I mean, we'll start at the obvious. I don't think you're going to see Dave Cameron back as the head coach of this team. He's had a couple cracks at it in the past. I think you're going to see some, different coaching approach. But, I think that where they really have to have, maybe a look is are they bringing the right, players? And Canada has an enviable problem. There's more good players than spots on the roster when we're picking a national men's team, a national women's team, world junior team, you call it. I mean, one of the beauties of our country is we have a lot of players that play the game at a high level, but just felt like something was left on the table here. That was a criticism. Look, I'm not a prospect expert, so it's tough for me to say it should have been this player over this player because it's a little beyond, what I'm familiar with day to day. But those questions came long before Canada lost games in this tournament about some of the players left at home. A lot of top 10 picks from the draft in June, didn't make this team. And so, I think it has to be a full scale and extensive look, because on the further end of this, if Canada's slipping, I mean, if you're having a tournament in this country every 2 years, if you're charging the ticket prices you do, eventually the ticket buying public or the people that support the team are going to say, hey, enough with this. I think the customers in this case, will eventually have a say if they don't right the ship here.
NHL insider Chris Johnston joining us from The Athletic and TSN this morning for Pro-Am Sports. I just wanted one more guest for the tournament as a whole too, and we can slice and dice Canada this morning as we should, and they require that. But how much do you also factor into the strength of other nations now at this tournament? And we saw an Oil King and Dzeko getting the goal last night, but just the strength of the Czechias, the Latvias, they're not up, and maybe nor should they be at that level as maybe the Americans or the Canadians should with the funding and everything else going into it. But how much, I guess, of a percentage do you put in as well to a tournament now that you're not seeing the heavies just shellacking countries by tunes to 13-2 every single night, and you are seeing a little bit more of closeness from nations that maybe weren't always in the mix traditionally?
Right, and you're seeing it without Russia, participating for the last 4 years too, and that's obviously been a historical powerhouse in international hockey. I mean, I think that's probably the positive side of this. No Canadian that cared a lot about that team is going to feel that this morning. But, it's unquestionably better for the sport if more people in more places are playing it. I mean, it ensures that we're getting more good players, great players playing in the NHL. It ensures likely the survival of hockey over a long period beyond our lifetimes, which I think would be positive given that it's my life's passion and it's given me my career. And you are seeing a bit more of that. I mean, the Czechs had a real dip. I mean, around the 2000s, after they won the 1998 Nagano Olympics, they had international success, and then they had about 20 years in the wilderness. But, now for them, this is the fourth year at the World Juniors that they've, had a chance to play for a medal. Their men's team won the World Hockey Championship on home ice last year in Prague. And it seems as though Czech hockey's having a little bit of a renaissance. We've seen the Slovaks come on. They played a tough quarterfinal against Canada 2 years ago at the World Juniors. It was only Connor Bedard's heroics that allowed Canada to win that game. And, Finland has been pretty dominant in a lot of competitions over 10 years now. So when you couple that with Sweden and the US and Canada, I mean, we do have, more going on internationally that I think we once did. And it comes at a good time too, because, on the men's side, we're finally going to have best on best play again. I know this Four Nations tournament next month might not be quite that, but certainly by, a year from now, we're going to be talking about the Olympics in Milan. And, I think that's going to be a pretty exciting tournament because, the sport probably has never been as strong across a number of countries as it is right now.
Chris, Oilers and Ducks tonight. They're meeting for the second time in less than a week. As you saw the Oilers before the break, and then there was the wobble in California against the Kings and the Ducks. You look at this roster, and what do you think needs to get done, if anything, in the immediate sense for Stan Bowman?
Well, it's maybe not quite immediate just yet, but you get now on the other side of the holidays, it's almost like all of us in our lives, right? I think you start to see the things in your life with a little more clarity. You sort of through a lot of a busy period here. And GMs around the league now will start honing in on what they can do at the trade deadline. I think the calls tend to intensify in January, at least getting a feel for what teams, what players they might move. And that's part of the decision is obviously in some cases a team like Edmonton might hone in on a specific player, but you're also trying to get a sense of what's the field. What is the available list of players we might trade for? And then you try to make the best set of decisions with that information. And so, I still think the team needs another defenseman to round out the group. It wouldn't surprise me to see an addition at forward if they can make it work. Maybe not the same priority as addressing the blue line, but when you have a team like the Oilers have that I think has every right to believe they can go on another long playoff run, I don't think you want to leave anything on the table. I think if anything, you almost want to there's obviously a delicate balance. It's not like you can trade for 7 guys at the deadline, but I think you want to make sure that you have a lot of depth. And, I just see the fact that obviously the Jeff Skinner thing came to light. He gets scratched in Anaheim in the last game they played there. It hasn't worked for him in the top 6. He was signed clearly to give them an option there. I'd like to see them and do believe that they'll be in the market to try to add up front and on the blue line. Because, again, they have a pretty precious opportunity a season like this one. I know it hasn't gone perfectly. No season is the exact copy of the one before it. But, ultimately, I still see this team as a reasonable facsimile of the one that went to the Cup final last year and was 1 goal short of winning Game 7. And so, I think that they have an important 6, 7, 8 weeks ahead as they go into the trade deadline here.
Chris, do you think 17 hours ago there was a mysterious tweet by one Connor McDavid? Do you think that depth piece could be an Austin Matthews? As McDavid did tweet at Matthews, crossbar and in, let's see it. You're dialed in. You're an insider. What's going on here? Is he trying to woo him, or is this something else, more of a promotional side, shall we say?
I'm guessing this is something that's putting money in both of their pockets. I don't know the exact nature of the campaign that's about to drop, but keep tuned to the social media because I think that'll be the next thing to happen there. But naturally, obviously, the Toronto end of this, everyone's saying, "Oh, McDavid's going to be a Leaf in 2 years or whatever." But let's face it, the odds of those guys ever being teammates in any city are pretty long because we do have a cap and there's only one puck.
Chris, Canuck fans have been distracted by the Miller and Pettersson stuff that's been roiling the waters out there. Thatcher Demko returns but has to leave with back spasms against the Kraken. Should Canuck Nation be holding its breath that here we go again with this goaltender who is a huge part of what they are hoping to do there?
100% they should. This has just been... I think so much went right for the Canucks last season. They obviously had a bounce back year. They get to the second round and play Edmonton. They did that obviously in the playoffs without Demko available to them. But it just felt like last year everything clicked into place. This year they've managed, to their credit, to stay in the mix and they're winning games. But it just feels like something is very off there. And when you have a goalie like Demko, it's just hard to imagine getting to your highest place if he's not available. And so, I suppose the glass half full is there's still a lot of time between now and the first playoff game. Don't have any reason to believe this is a long-term injury. And to be fair, Kevin Lankinen, who they brought in, late in training camp, has performed well for them. And so there's at least a bit of proof of concept they can get through this. But this has been a tough year. I think you mentioned that the Miller Pedersen stuff is getting the fan base, distracted, riled up, whatever term we want to use. I think within the organization, it's taken a toll too. I mean, the reason this is a story publicly is because behind the scenes, it's got to a point where some of that is leaking out, and I think that it's taken a strain. And so, sometimes teams have to go through some difficult stretches, and they can find a way to pull it together. But it feels like the sort of year where if they can't do that, it might break apart to some degree. And so, really unfortunate injury for Demko, who's not been able to play much this season. And, I feel like the best version of the Canucks involves him being healthy and in net. And, he hasn't been able to do that, too much here, really going back to last April.
Chris, the Washington Capitals have been having a great season with or without Alex Ovechkin in the lineup. He scored as he naturally does last night, his 18th of the season, beating Marc-Andre Fleury. Get out your darts, get out the Caps schedule. When do you see this thing breaking? Because it's not a matter of, if or whatever. It's a when now, and it doesn't seem like a broken leg or broken anything can keep him from reaching this goal. We're now 24 goals to the 895. When could you kind of see, gazing into your magic 8 ball, this thing kind of taking place?
It's going to happen maybe sooner than I even thought. I mean, To me, the question was, is it going to happen this season? This is before the injury. And he starts the year as he does with 15 goals in 16 games. I think it's at 18 now in 22. Yeah. I mean, this guy's never had an injury layoff like this. He's 39 years old. It's almost as old as I am. And he returns from the 16-game layoff, and he just keeps scoring. I mean, to me, it's going to happen this year. It just feels like, I've spent some time around the Caps, and you get a sense it's really a galvanizing thing for the team. Obviously, he's always just been a volume shooter. He's done it for so long. It's hard. Like, there'd be no reason to predict it all of a sudden he's just going to go 10 games without a goal. So I think it happens this season. There's not a perfect game for me on the schedule. The last game of the regular season for the Caps is in Pittsburgh. Yeah. That might be kind of cool if you're into the whole just, put a bow on the Crosby Ovechkin story, because obviously they dominated so much of the league when they came in together all those years ago. But, it would be nice to see him do it at home, but they don't have a lot of home games. I still think he gets it done this year, though, just because it's crazy. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll get it done in early March. Sure. And, because he's scoring almost a goal a game. And the fact he's on a good team, I actually think it adds to it a little bit, because there was a point where I thought
both kind of feed off each other too, right? He's galvanizing the team. The team is playing well. It's a win-win.
Yeah, and it's funny. I talked to Dylan Strom recently, and who's been his center. I think he's assisted on 13 of Ovie's 18 goals this year. And he said that he's felt it this year more than ever. I mean, he's been with the team for a few years. Obviously, Ovechkin scored 800, which is a huge milestone a couple years ago. He said, it's just a different energy now and a different focus in the dressing room. So, there was a world where this played out and the Capitals were kind of, just a non-factor in the standings, and this was the only thing they kind of had going on. But they've really captured something. I think they have a great coach there in Spencer Carberry, and they brought in some younger players. And I think 24 goals is what he needs. I think he gets there in about 40 games. So I don't know what the math is on that, but it'll be sometime in March if that's what happens.
Chris, you're taking the CJ show out on the road. What can the good people of Cobourg, Ontario, expect when they see you January 17th?
Oh, nice of you to give me a prop there. Yeah, I'm going back to my hometown. It's a small town, about an hour and a half drive from Toronto. And, I don't, it's a weird thing for me because I haven't lived there in Cobourg for a long time. But it's pretty cool. My dad will be there. We're going to set up shop at a local Boston Pizza, which is the spot in Cobourg if you want to go out for a night and watch a game, or lots of games because they got all the screens, and some good hockey talk. We'll tip back a few drinks and, let her rip. I love doing a live show. It's different than what we get to do here, because I feel like there's an opportunity to be even a little bit more honest, use a few more curse words, tell a few stories that maybe, you wouldn't necessarily put into the public domain. So we'll try to give you the real stuff if you can make it out to Cobourg on January 17th.
A night for the elastic bow ties, shall we say, that type of thing. A little more loose, but you enjoy that, Chris. Happy New Year to you and yours as well. And thanks for the insight. We'll chat next week.
Thanks. Same to you. My New Year's resolution this year is to watch more Bozone. So it's going to be a big 2025 for me.
Love it. We'll see you in the zone, Chris. Tom Gazzola, of course, hosting the Bozone, up for a Gemini, I do believe, this year. A Gemini award here. That old.
Are they still called Geminis?
I don't even know if that's a thing anymore.
Oh, it's good.
Is it still? Is it like we don't have a ceremony?
Didn't James Duthie win 1 million Geminis
back in the day? But I don't even know if that's like televised. They maybe have it, but it's like via email. Like you've won a Gemini. Oh,
Red
okay.
carpet
A big thing. Rod Black. You mentioned Rod Black.
Yes.
Did you get his texts? He sends his whole phone like "Merry Christmas" and "Happy New Year." But I think it's like personalized to me. So I'm like, well, Rod, thank you very much. And he doesn't reply back. But he just,
you think it's like a bulk?
I think he searches me out, but it's just a bulk. Just
copy paste.
But that's a classic Rod Black move.
Yeah.
Should have had him on this week with you.
Oh, that would be good.
That'd be a little
Davey J.
a New Year's treat.
Davey J, how are you? Yes.
Chris Johnston from TSN and The Athletic, brought to you by Pro-Am Sports, and we appreciate his time this morning. A great add to the show. Pro-Am, once again, private signing, Hall of Famer, Grant Fuhr. You can submit your items today or select from theirs. You can locate them at Corner St. Albert Trail, 128th Ave, or online, proamsports.ca. Tell the Cooks and Boys EST sent you. What are you pulling away from Chris, just quickly there?
Over and above the Coburg appearance, I love that Chris Johnston is like out on the road doing this show in front of the live audience.
You got to get the suit off. You got to get the suit off. See, people
get out
like,
of the studio. You don't want to be a studio
muck
creature.
it up.
Yeah. I like that a great deal. The Ovechkin thing. I think that will rivet the hockey world as it should.
Yeah,
well, advances toward I am okay with records falling. Gretzky is okay. Then if Wayne is okay, I'm okay.
Oh, he's fine. Yeah, he'll be okay. It's one of those things.
Eric Dickerson, not so much.
From an Oilers fan point, I wouldn't be okay. If I cheer for a team and my legend has a record, I don't want it to be broken. I'd like my legend to continue holding that record. Just my opinion.
Okay. Well, I'm am I an Ovechkin fan? No, not necessarily. It has nothing to do with where he's from or his politics or any of it. I just, the Washington Capitol are not a team that I particularly focused on, but I duly and fully acknowledge his greatness.
Yes, and as the hockey world will, when it happens, not if it happens, but when it happens, and as Chris said, probably earlier rather than later. I know Trev is all for it. He can't wait. He's vibrating.
I'm so pumped.
What are you going to do that night?
Oh, I'll probably, it depends. Like if it's Ovie, the record watch, and if I've got nothing going on, I like to think when he's at least 2 goals away from it, I'd probably plan to go to a local bar or something like that.
A bar?
Yeah, like I'd go out
on Prime.
I'd
be
go
one
out.
of those games that's only on Prime.
Yeah,
man,
Prime night.
I hope so.
Wouldn't that be one of those like, oh, are you kidding me?
Playing the Jets in Winnipeg, regional blackout. You will have.
I got to follow John Lou.
Yes.
I got to follow John Lou to get the update.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. It's not a plus minus record. It's not a like this is gold. This is your top of the grade, right?
It's so cool. I remember I was in grade 12, 2015-16, and I think it was right when he scored goal 500. And I just remember my stepdad just like, he's not getting it. He's not getting it. And then 2 years go by, he scores like back-to-back 50-goal seasons, and he's like, okay, nope, he's that's impressive, but he's still not getting it. He's still not getting it. And like, even last year, he's like, see, he's starting to slow down.
Yeah.
Next year, he's probably going to get, 12, 13, something like that. He's not going to get it.
He'll be reduced to being a checking forward.
Yeah, he says, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Were they in the when you were watching him as you were early in your fandom? Were they in the Screaming Eagle black Capitals uniforms?
Yeah.
That's
that was
my
early memories of hockey.
Oh, okay.
Was when he scored
Jim Carrey.
the greatest goal ever against the Coyotes when Wayne Gretzky was the coach. And you got to see that one. And Austin Matthews was also there at that game, which is kind of interesting. 3 of the best goal scorers ever, maybe, in attendance for that game.
Rip City Step says Trev hates Gretzky so much.
Yeah, no, Rip.
Why?
Rip silly.
Why no like 99?
Well,
I love Gretzky.
Chris Sadaway lays it out here.
Yeah.
Who actually was the loser yesterday in Kind of Easy Trivia. Let's just get that out of the way.
That's him? Okay.
He says Gretzky set the goal record as a king. Let the record fall.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Didn't
Let me
think
just
of it
check.
like
When
that.
do they play Los Angeles? Wayne goes out in one of those split jerseys.
And it all
one of those Kings Oilers.
Will
mashup
Ferrell's there.
jerseys.
Yeah, they're all.
Will Ferrell,
yeah.
yes.
JCD 780 on the Nasty Chat on YouTube. I know Dusty is back next Monday, but damn, really hope Jamel becomes a regular.
No.
He's great. So,
well, thank you.
Some
I
flowers
appreciate
for
that.
you this morning, Dave.
Yes.
And we echo that sentiment as well here.
I am told if you missed the earlier part of the program, I was wearing an Edmonton Eskimo hat.
You were,
Matty
yeah.
Iwanek, like a vintage.
You've
of
been
the
raiding
time.
his office like a pirate this morning.
I've been going into it's an unsanctioned thing that I've been doing, which is walking in freely to Iwanek's office and moving stuff around. No go?
And you're the only person who has, like, I go in there and breathe. He knows I'm in there. And I get, again, gun into the hip. You can do whatever you want. You've been
pulling stuff out of bags. And,
it's hilarious.
He's like, yes, Mr. Jameson. Yes. Yes. He gets scared.
Long may it continue. I want you raiding that office, just like a
Matty, leave it.
like a buccaneer.
Get out of here.
Come back with a new hat for the next segment.
I'd love it. Let's get into the Coolbet Canada hotline of the day real quickly here. Coolbet.com is rate and go. Stay cool, bet responsibly with our partners at Coolbet. Bowl season continues like the
Let the record show we got more.
like the Golden Gopher it is, and that'll be the Golden Gophers of Minnesota today, taking on Virginia Tech in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Minnesota minus 385 on the money line, minus 9.5 point favorites as well. Yesterday, though, the Sugar Bowl, it was essentially a pick'em. Notre Dame rolling over Georgia, though, in that one.
I had the Bulldogs, if I'm not mistaken. Did you
You
not
like
turn to
Jason
me?
Milne? No, we're all blinded by the SEC lights.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's funny that, like, you know, Alabama kind of nowhere to be seen. Georgia now floating back down to earth. You have, and if you want to count Notre Dame as a Big Ten team, although they're independent, you've got 3 Big Tens in the semifinals now, and Texas, who are now in the SEC, but a former Big 12 school as well. So traditional SEC all but shut out of the semifinals of the Natty.
I'm just
which
reading
is
this
kind of
now
funny.
off the CA. And you know what I'm talking about. Curtis Rourke will undergo
Yes.
ACL revision surgery. I've not heard that term, ACL revision.
They're gonna
surgery played from August on with a partially torn or entirely torn ACL.
And declaring as well for the draft. He's out there. He's where do you kind of see that career going quickly here? If you were to lay a bet on it, since it is the Coolbet Canada hotline of the day.
I'm a terrible evaluator of most things, but especially quarterback talent and what will work in the NFL and what won't.
And not knowing the character that he is. Are you comfortable standing around and kind of being, you know, or do you take your talents here and be the man, right? Like,
is he bound for the Canadian Football League? He'll exhaust should exhaust every single opportunity to latch on down there.
But I mean, define opportunity, and I kind of see it as the KC Printers. I'm going to waste my career in the prime of it holding a clipboard.
Did Bo Levi turn down a CFL opportunity? Was it with Jacksonville? And he said,
was it Vikings?
Where did he go? Or did he not go?
I don't think
was there sort of some heavy petting, but no consummation?
I think that was kind of. I want to think. I'm thinking the Vikings for some reason. Maybe somebody can enlighten us there.
He looked, he went, he talked, he worked out, and said, I'll...
he worked out with the Vikings. I'm seeing an article here from 3 Down Nation. It says the Vikings didn't want Bo Levi Mitchell to cause a quarterback controversy in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that something for a CFL quarterback? We don't want him because he might unsettle things.
Yeah. We might have to make a hard decision.
Dante Culpepper might get emotionally hurt here. Curtis Rourke, good for him. Good luck. It'll be exciting to follow that career and see where it eventually ends up. But once again, if you want to get on the action today, and at Battle of Texas State Bobcats in the mean green of North Texas.
Demcats.
The Bobcats minus 14 favorites. They're looking to roll later on this afternoon. Roll Cats, Cat Nation. That's what they say.
Yes, they do.
Full weekend 18 slate in the NFL as well. And we'll have more on that coming up with Herm Edwards shortly here. Let's get to a sports update. Once again, coolbet.com is rate and go. Full slate of NFL. You got the Oilers and Ducks tonight as well, and some bowl action. YouTube Trev's got a sports update. It's Lieutenant Eric. It's Dave Jameson in for Dustin Nielson on The Nielson Show. This is EdmontonSportsTalk.com, your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
just like that, yesterday in the quarterfinals, Team Canada loses to Czechia by the score of 4-3. This is the second year in a row that Canada has not medaled. Elsewhere in the World Juniors, Germany beats Kazakhstan 4-3. Sweden over Latvia 3-2 is your score. Americans all over the Swiss 7-2. And the Finns get by the Slovaks 5-3 is your score in that one. Czechia will now go on to play USA in the semifinals, while the Finns will take on the Swedes, both games scheduled for tomorrow. To the NHL we go. 12 games in the NHL last night, including the Maple Leafs getting by the Islanders. 2-1 is the score. The Ducks edge out the Jets 4-3 in overtime. The Stars double up on the Sens 4-2. The Utah Hockey Club defeat the Flames 5-3, and the Canucks are 4-3 winners in the shootout over the Kraken. Tonight in the NHL, the Oilers are back in action against the Anaheim Ducks. You can join Tom Gazzola for the GCL Diesel pre- and post-game shows. Coverage starts at 6 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. For other games tonight, including the Penguins and Panthers, the Canadians take on the Blackhawks, the Senators visit the Blues, and the Predators visit the Canucks. To the WHL we go. 10 games going on tonight, including the Oil Kings making a trip down south to take on the Hurricanes. Puck drop for this one goes at 7 o'clock. And to finish things off in the NBA, the Raptors are one of 9 games scheduled around the association tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. Tip-off for this one goes at 5:30. The sports update is brought to you by the fine folks at Park Mazda and dealer principal Mitch Lewicki. Mitch is consistent and always delivers, unlike Team Canada.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button. Thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki as newborn 8-pound, 6-ounce Mitch Lewicki. You can picture grown-up Mitch, or teenage Mitch, or bearded Mitch, or whoever you want.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road, parkmazda.ca.
The Nielson Show featuring Lieutenant Eric. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk.
And then
that soother in your mouth there. 7:34, you are tuned into the Nielson Show, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. We are streaming on the iHeart and TuneIn radio apps and on YouTube. Lieutenant Eric Dave Jameson in for Dustin Nielsen, who returns Monday, and YouTube Trev there on the sports updates. He'll be wrangling up the coach, Herm Edwards, who will be joining us momentarily. We're going to go over Week 18 in the NFL, storylines from that final week of the regular season leading into the playoffs, some individual storylines as well, and I wanted to get his thoughts on the bowl season that it has been thus far. The Nielsen Show is always presented by Southport Chevrolet. Drive a little, save a lot. You can check them out online, www.southfortchev.com, or out in Fort Saskatchewan as well. Paris Jewelers Inbox is humming along as well today. Andrea from Calgary, good morning. I don't really have much to contribute to the discussions this morning, but I missed texting in, so we'll just say Happy New Year and Happy Friday. We'll take it.
we don't have much to add to the discussion, but we'll take that.
We'll take
That's
it.
Fantastic.
No gift receipt needed for that one.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
And same to you, Andrea from Calgary, and everybody else. Bones says hook 'em cats. As to the Texas State Bobcats discussion before. Yes. Rob from the Grove says, I echo the Dave Jameson talk. It has been great having him on. Please find a way to have him on EST more. The people are speaking. They're soon you'll have throngs down below.
Give the people what they want.
You have to be the Jason Demers. You will work for free.
Yes.
You're all for your services up. Answer the call, right? Herm Edwards will be brought to you by Pro-Am Sports coming up here. If you have any questions as well for Herm in the final week, get them in. Paris Jewelers Inbox, 780-218-9999, or in the nasty chat as well. Herm's good to go. We'll bring him in. Herm, as always, brought to you by Pro-Am Sports as well, your locally owned sports memorabilia and apparel specialists. Just arrived the retro-inspired Fly-By Tee from 47. 11 teams available, including the Bills, Lions, and Chiefs. You can check out Pro-Am, corner of St. Albert Trail, 128th Ave, or online at proamsports.ca. Coach, great to have you on. Happy New Year as well to you and yours. We will get into the NFL picture here as well. Myself, Lieutenant Eric, and Dave Jameson. But I wanted to start with bowl season. Get your thoughts on how you've been enjoying it, and specifically, the quest for the national championship. We saw yesterday in the Sugar Bowl, the Irish advancing. Have Notre Dame taking on Penn State in the semis. You got the Longhorns and Buckeyes, who Ohio State just embarrassing Oregon in the Rose Bowl. But I want to get your thoughts on the Final Four and what you've thought of the expanded playoff thus far. Silence speaks volumes. I know
there's some heavy contemplation.
I know. Herm, if you're there and you can hear us, we do have a bit of a phone. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah, we got you now. Did you catch all my question there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, we got you.
Oh, okay. I'm saying, I think anytime you start something like they've been able to do in college football, there's always some tweaks that are going to be needed going forward. Now, some people say maybe it should only be 8 games. I don't know that. I think it might be 16.
Why not? I mean, somebody did on, I don't know if you saw it, Herm, on X, somebody did the entire, every single school eligible, and they did an entire playoff with all of the schools. It was fascinating spreadsheet, but I think there is probably a limit at some point. But you're right. I mean, I like the thrill of knowing that it's one and done, and if you do win this specific bowl game, whatever it is, you do move on to the next one, and a few home games from those specific campuses later on in the season. I'm with you. I like it, and I think teams near the end in the conversation should get a shot to prove themselves, and as we've seen, a few upsets taking place. So long may it continue. Who do you got, I guess, from the Final Four making it and going all the way and capturing the Natty?
Well, I'm paying tuition at the University of Texas because my daughter actually goes there.
Hook 'em horns, yeah. So you're a Longhorn through and through now.
I got a problem because we're Catholic, and Marcus Freeman's a good friend, and the Irish are in the game too, so it's going to be interesting if Texas and Notre Dame match up.
Herm, Nick Sirianni, the Eagles sit Saquon Barkley for the final game. He will not surpass Eric Dickerson and that record. You've had to make you've had those hard conversations with players over your career. Can you kind of take us inside what that conversation or conversations would have been like for both coach and player?
Well, I probably would have handled it a little bit different.
Okay.
I would have asked him the question, do you want to break the record? Because that's important. It's been sitting there for 40 years.
Yeah.
And not only the record for yourself, but how about the offensive linemen in the city of Philadelphia that would be excited about seeing this record broke? So I would suggest that, look, I'm going to play you, and you play 20, 25 plays, and if you break the record before that, I'll take you out. But I would give it an opportunity to break the record for sure, because I just think that's part of football history.
Coach, I just wanted to get your thoughts as well in the final week of the regular season here, and a few things still to be settled in terms of positioning and such, but I'm really focused on this Vikings-Lions matchup. It is your Sunday nighter. It is probably the feature game of the week when it just comes to, power and records and such, but which team do you think is poised best to make a big run here? I know that there's a lot of hype around Detroit and a lot of smoke around them, and as they should, but I think a lot of that is due to the fact that they really haven't tasted success over the years. How far off are the Vikings, if at all, in your opinion?
They're not far off at all. And I think this game this week will tell a lot about both these teams. And the thing I'm looking for is this. Both these teams have the ability to score points. Both of them have defenses that are a little leaky. But the one that's able to take the ball away at least twice in this game will probably win.
Herm, Aaron Rodgers is in a reflective place heading into what might be his final NFL game. Given how things have played out with the New York Jets, do we need a little bit of time before we can? I mean, we know he's going in the Hall of Fame. We know why he is going in the Hall of Fame. But just to properly place him, do we need a little bit of time away from Aaron Rodgers playing with the New York Jets or playing at all?
Well, I think Aaron Rodgers still has some talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's struggling with the fact of, do I want to end my career on this note? Basically, 1 year I was injured, couldn't play. And this year it just didn't add up. Because I think that new head coach, the new GM, will sit down with Aaron Rodgers and ask him, does he want to play? Because admittedly, if he's not into it, then there's no reason to play. But he has enough talent, and this team is a talented team. They just need to learn how to win again, and Aaron Rodgers can help them do that. Because the question I have is this. If you decide to move on from Aaron Rodgers, who are you going to get?
Well, you're right. I mean, our silence is the answer, which is there are no immediate. The solution is not standing outside the door at the Jets headquarters.
Correct. That is correct.
Herm, there's another game, too, that jumps off the page to me, and I, like many, probably had the Bengals dead to rights weeks ago, but I think we've all learned the lesson that you can never count out a guy like Joe Burrow. 8-8, they're visiting the Steelers this weekend, Steelers 10-6. They also need to win and hope for a Ravens loss to snatch that division, so something on the line for both of these teams. The Bengals right now are fascinating. I mean, how far can Joe Burrow carry them? Do you see them coming out and getting into the playoffs? And man, I whoever would face them in that opening wild card round weekend, they could be like, how much are you buying on the Bengals right now and what Joe Burrow has done and carried them?
Oh, they're one of the hottest teams in football right now, especially on the offensive side of it. Higgins and Chase, they've got 26 touchdown catches combined. You talk about Joe Burrow, he's already thrown over 40 touchdown passes. The shame of it all is that they got off to a late start again. And they really talked about that this offseason, that they didn't want to get off to a bad start, and they did again, 1-4. And you're hoping it doesn't cost them the ability to get in the playoffs. But their problem is this. They got to hope other teams win. They got to win, and they got to hope other teams win for them to get in.
Herm, can you take a moment or two to talk about the job that Mike Tomlin has done with Russell Wilson and the job Russell Wilson has done in this season and reviving his career and reminding us of how Russell Wilson, of who he can be when he's playing at his best or close to it?
Well, this was a decision that Mike made when he brought both quarterbacks in, and there was a big conversation about is what are they doing in Pittsburgh? Does Mike know what he's doing? Well, obviously he knows what he's doing. And you talk about Russell Wilson. He started off slow, and then he hit a spurt there where this offense was really going. Now, the last 3 weeks, they've struggled scoring points. He's going to have to play well against Cincinnati to win this football game. They got to score points. They've been averaging, not over 20 points a game the last 3 weeks, and they've lost three in a row now. So they need to win this game, Pittsburgh, going into the playoffs.
Herm Edwards, the coach, we appreciate your time again, man. Enjoy the remainder of bowl season. Go Horns, go Texas. We'll all be rooting for you and watching you. I know we got a few Texas fan listeners and viewers here on the show, so we'll be thinking of you, and enjoy the final week of the regular season. We'll talk next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
This is Coach Herm Edwards, brought to you as always by Pro-Am Sports. And once again, a reminder, just arrived the retro-inspired Fly-By Tee from 47. 11 teams available in this line, including the Bills, Lions, and Chiefs. ProAmSports.ca or St. Albert Trail on 128th Avenue as well. You can check them out in the flesh. Herm's pregnant pauses. I said in the nasty chat, it's like he's having triplets. Like he's laying down a pregnant pause like nobody's business.
But I love that.
It keeps you hanging on. The Aaron Rodgers answer was great because there was no answer.
No.
I mean, we should have remained sitting here for the entirety of the segment.
You and I just staring into the camera, Herm on the phone, and we just left it at that.
And then a click.
That. Yeah. Just a nice hang up, and yeah.
We're fine with that. Martin says, bring back Boomer Esiason to the QB. The Jets, the Jets, Jets. Bit of a joke there, but when we're talking about the Jets, they might even view that.
Anybody playing quarterback right now better than Burrow in the NFL?
Well, it's one of those things now too that if you I don't have the NFL playoff tree, the Steve Kornacki in front of me here. But imagine drawing that wild card. I mean, sometimes, and that's the thing too with Oregon. We saw the other night in the Rose Bowl. I mean, they were the first ranked in that college football playoff system. Where you're getting a team like now you have to play an Ohio State Buckeye. Like, it's funny how rankings sometimes work and who draws in. You don't want a hot team. I mean,
I've never truly understood the ranking machine.
Sure, but sometimes you can back in. You can do all your heavy lifting at the start of the season. Kind of fall back into have a high ranking or a high seed or whatever you want to call it, right? Mm-hmm. Lose 2 to finish the season, bench some starters, whatever you want to say. But as well, CFLs especially, you want to be coming into the dance red hot, regardless of your record or where you slot in on the ranking or the standing. You just got to be playing well heading into the dance.
Can I just tag on a plug for our friend, the Cookson boys over at Pro-Am?
Yes.
These flyby tees are pretty darn cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I want my T-shirts. I want them loud, I want them proud, and I want them big.
11, including the Bills, Lions, and Chiefs, and your team is, of those 3, or just of the flyby? Of the flybys, or we can open it up to the league as a whole. Have we ever talked about you having a football team? We talked about your baseball team. Yeah,
49ers would be the one team I would gravitate towards because I'm sort of that I fell under the spell of Montana.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's where I go.
Not necessarily a Steve Young, though, but or a Jeff Garcia, that kind of a...
but I carried on. Because, I love the uniform, love the Sanford, like Candlestick, that whole thing. There is an aura around West Coast offense. And so, 49ers would be my NFL team of choice.
Seifert and the crew, eh? Hernan as well, big Niners guy.
And I knew, actually, and Hugh Campbell, who hired me many years ago, was a 49er, was a San Francisco 49er. And I worked with a guy who went on to be for a short time, I don't know where he is now, Quintus Cumby.
Okay.
He was an Eskimo for a brief time and then ended up working in personnel, I think, with the 49ers. And I knew him a little bit.
Hey, there's always a connection with Canadian fandom to an NFL team. There's some sort of story that usually should be involved. Not that I chose this team on a bet or a dare or I closed my eyes and picked one.
No.
There's always some sort of...
And it wasn't like my dad dragged me to Candlestick and I fell in love with the whole thing. It probably being a West Coast guy, That's where I went. I mean, all my teams, Oakland A's, San Francisco 49ers, California Golden Seals. It's where I go for my fandom.
Growing up as well, I think I was a product of what my local cable provider could show me and whatever feed you had coming out of the United States. Like I had Michigan football pumped into my system every Saturday, whether I wanted to or not.
Of course.
Detroit Lions, like we had that Michigan type of feed. I mean, that was what we got, and that's what you... Well, I didn't grow up to be a Lions fan.
And in Vancouver, we got Seattle.
Yeah.
Right, that was coming in. So you got Hawks and Mariners.
You might as well. You got
Sonics. God bless them. Please bring the Sonics back. I don't know who I'm talking to right now.
I second that,
yeah.
No, that's your season ticket, really. Dustin with the Y says, hook 'em horns. Big Texas fan. Listener to the show.
Yep.
Missed you last night, Central Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. I did have a bottle of wine, though, at home, just to kind of wean myself off of because every Monday and Thursday I'd go to the casino, and we'd have this merry band of listeners and viewers that would show up, and we'd have a couple of Reds for health.
I've not come down to visit you guys on location there, but I look at the pictures, and it makes me yearn.
Yeah. Great steak sandwich. We'll be back for Super Bowl. Maddie doesn't know it yet, but...
Oh.
Well, Dustin says we're going. Matt says nobody's told me about this. So I kind of play them off of each other. I'm like, well, you might as well. You better talk to Dustin, or I'll say to Dustin, you better talk to Maddie. But there's no.
How are these things decided? And if you don't want to go behind the curtain in front of a hot mic and a live camera, you don't have to tell me. But how are these things arrived at?
Usually we have like meetings in that boardroom over there,
Yes.
like once every couple of weeks. So I might have to table it at the next one.
You probably should. Are we not coming up to?
It's getting it's February or early February.
February. Okay,
so we're getting there.
Okay,
but we'll probably be at the Centric Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for the Super Bowl early February. Join us there. It's a hell of a party. Hampton Steve says, to your point, LT, I became a Packers fan because they wear the same colors as the Elks. And I was too young to understand the difference between CFL and NFL. I hear that story a lot from these parts. That's kind of that Oregon Duck as well, because their uniforms used to mirror
the colors.
I mean, yeah. So you kind of know.
That's why I always say, and Low Tide used to love this, I go, you're cheering for laundry.
Yeah.
And and sometimes the people in the laundry.
I'm a sucker. I love the animal of the buffalo. It's one of my favorite animals growing up. That's why I became a Bill fan. And they lost those Super Bowls, which I kind of like loving the loser. The Riders were losers in the 90s, to which I grew up, and it kind of mirrored my fandom as well. Steve. Yes. BB. Scuba Steve says it's what we've all been waiting for, the Duke's Mayo Bowl game. What's the over-under on someone getting caught on the broadcast dipping their wiener in a jar of mayo as dip? Scuba Steve. And he says, wait, a hot dog. I don't mind mayonnaise on a hot dog. Trev, do you like mayonnaise as a condiment at all?
On like a chicken sandwich.
I like that.
I've never
mayo and chicken's good.
Mayo on a hot dog though.
No, I've never thought of that. Although I'm sure I could be coaxed in that direction.
It's a multi-tool player though. I think mayo. You put a little spice in there. You spice it up, and you can put it on a lot of steak dip. That type of thing, I think you can. In
baseball terms, it is the utility infielder. Move them around.
Great value.
Give you some decent arms, so you can put him at short. Can jump over at third. He can work all of the infield.
Switch hitter.
Yes.
Let's get into the fan zone for Fans First here. Brought to you by www.fansfirst.ca. If you're looking to go to tonight's Oilers game, Oilers and Ducks tonight, check out the Fans First website, www.fansfirst.ca. By fans, for fans, and no fees. Get your Oilers tickets all season long, and this is the Fan Zone. If you'd like to discuss anything in the Fan Zone, specifically Team Canada, Oilers Ducks tonight, maybe you just want to talk about your fandom of a random NFL team. I know you too, Trev, you've latched on to the Bengals, correct? That somebody brought you in a Raiders jersey. You said, no, sir. And you said, I'm a Bengal. Redbeard did that because he wanted to try to get you on the path there. But your Bengals died in the bowl.
Yep. I'm starting to watch. Yes, this has been more years than any year in my life that I've been watching a lot of football, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. No, growing home.
When Trevor washed up on the shore here, you were not
Wasn't
a football.
The Ralph explosion down south did nothing for him. The Brocks and the Bretts and the
really.
I no.
Yeah, I love the Elks now. That's been really cool. But yeah, back home, it's just
thank you for that.
Nothing. And my family was just never really. It was a hockey family, hockey, and so I blame it on that. But yeah, so I've been Joe Burrow, huge Joe Burrow fan,
big Joe Burrow guy.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch.
The name this year, right? You fell in love with Joe Burrow this year.
Yes, and so it's been cool. Here's hoping they can get it done. It'd be nice to see.
They'll be a dangerous out. They are. They say when you're hitting this stride. Well, you're hitting this stride. They were 4-8. I mean, we all had them dead to rights. So you can never count out Joe Burrow and the weaponry that he has on that team. But 780-218-9999. Once again, the Fan Zone. Hashtag all your texts with hashtag Fan Zone. Dolphin Nation says, LT, if you love the losers, you should be a Dolphins fan. Dan Marino's a winner, right?
Yeah, sure, he is.
Remember we were talking yesterday, Mercury Morris, the season it was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dan, their inability to not win a Super Bowl with Dan Marino was
something else.
Right? When you look at those teams and you go Mark Duper and, we could go on. That was one of the greater failings in the National Football League in the modern era. Like, that guy should have won at least one.
Saskatoon Muncher says, I'd just like to check in after this Team Canada loss with all the people who are saying the Four Nations face-off doesn't matter. Do they care more now? Because I personally do not want to have to listen to the American fans gloat even more if they win that. Hashtag Fan Zone. Does this in the whole concept of international hockey and having it all combined? No, but the fact that Canada's out now, if we vacate our seat in the Four Nations, and there's only 4.
Yes,
seats,
I'm aware. That's hence the title.
Does that add on to you, or do you have no connection between the two at all? I mean, will you be more emotionally invested now in needing Canada to do well in that tournament of Four Nations, given Canada's fate here in the World Juniors?
Look, I will be like, I guess anybody, listening to us, watching us, I will be intrigued by Four Nations. Will I live and die with every victory and die with every loss? I don't think so. But like any of these things, when they introduce Four Nations, whatever it's going to be, rendezvous for you older viewers, give it time, because they seem like they're one and dones now. And I can't get emotionally invested in one-offs.
Hypothetically, though, if the Americans take this World Junior tournament and then they go into the Four Nations
and win that
with only 4 countries, and they win that, will it be way too loud? Will the neighbors down south be too much to handle over the next little while, like the Greg Wyshynskis of the world?
I don't know do Americans? Yes, they will celebrate a victory, but are they going to gloat about hockey? Do they care enough to gloat?
But we will invest in that gloat wherever it may exist, albeit sparse.
We will overemphasize it.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's why I'm saying I don't think you should worry too much. As I mean, it'll make the papers one day and be old news the next. Trev, do you care at all about the Americans succeeding on both fronts, if in fact they do go on and do that? And will it lead to a lot of sleepless nights in your household?
Yes, I believe so. I was surprised actually by the amount of, I guess it was the summer before I started working here. I was down in Vegas and I was wearing an Oilers jersey, and that was the summer that Vegas won the cup. And they took out the Oilers, and I was blown away by the amount of people. Like, I had a lot. There was a lot of people coming up to me and saying, your Oilers suck, this, that. We kind of took that sport away from you. We took hockey. Hockey is in America. And then I said, well, I mean, you look at the Olympics. I mean, it's been a while, but you look on best. Like, I'd take Team Canada over the States any day of the week. You look at that Vegas squad, I'm pretty sure it was either that team or the St. Louis Blues team a few years prior, but it is just riddled with Canadians. And I brought that up, and then they kind of just shut up right away. So, yeah, like I don't want them. I think there is a lot more stock into this personally. If Team Canada does, like if the Americans win this tournament, I feel like the narrative at the Four Nations, if Canada does win, is people were beginning to ask, like, is Canada still the hockey? Are they the team? And it's evident that they are, hypothetically, if they win. So, yeah, I think for myself, I'm going to be tuning in a lot more, and I'm going to be watching this a lot more.
I love that the mantle is being challenged, that Canada's hockey supremacy is being challenged. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Well, rise to the challenge. That should be the call around the country here.
I agree.
Amishman19 says, Dave nailed it. Why should I care when there isn't going to be another? And I think in reference to the...
Yeah. Will I watch? Absolutely. But if I know it's just, a punctuation, an interlude on the hockey schedule, and we may not see it again, well...
But it is the latest chance to establish some street credit when it comes to the hockey world, right? Like, that's your...
But we're always going to use the Olympics as the barometer.
Yep. When NHL players can play in them.
Only.
Only when the pros are in. When it's just regular Joes, I mean, hey, we have... we don't want to get there. Matthew Kachuk chimes into the nasty chat. Gloat, he says. Oh, yeah, we have Matthew Kachuk is a regular viewer. Chimes in every once in a while in the nasty chat.
As you would.
But he's in there this morning. Good to see you, Rat Boy. Ethan Mamer says, I think it's notable 2 years in a row, but no Celebrini, no Bedard, who are age appropriate, still softens the blow. Scotty Noah says 100%. It's nothing but good for the game to have the competition. The women's rivalry is always fun when the games matter. Wanted to get a Paris Jewelers inbox as well. We got a few texts in there. TubeSock says, I don't understand why people concern themselves with what other fan bases say. Well, that's just the...
Thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, that is sports. We all are humans,
Don't
sticks and stones, but it does, Big Slam Nasty says, imagine saying you don't like Chipotle mayo. It's like saying you can't win a cup with Stu Skinner. Hashtag the fan zone. So getting back to the mayo conversation as well. Maybe that'll work its way in.
Are you going to mention Dallas Aiken's tweet at some point?
I guess this would be the segment too. It is 8 o'clock, but just before we dismount from the fan zone here for fansfirst.ca, by fans, for fans, no fees. If you want to check me out on X at Lieutenant_Eric, I've retweeted your good pal Yoder, Dallas Aikens, at Dallas Aikens.
I'm trying to get a bead on this arena they're in.
You brought me to the tweet, but it says...
It's an open air. Yeah. If I got this right, it's an open air rink.
Well, let me just
really cool.
The tweet includes, and he's kind of taking it back to old style Twitter when you said something and then had a bunch of hashtags to follow, so you can kind of decipher.
Are hashtags done now?
Well, but adding on so many, I just
yeah.
We have arrived, he says. At Adler Mannheim is ready for practice. He includes the hashtags #DEL, which I think is the league.
Oh yes, okay.
I think #DEL Winter Game.
They're classic. They're outdoor classic.
Well, #Winter Game. Mm-hmm. #Adler Mannheim, and then #Penny Dell. So I don't know what those all mean. If he's trying to tell us something in code there.
Open air, but it's got a roof, like it's got
T-Mobile plastered all over the place. You got the...
Okay.
Now, in the stands, as they do, they have the lettering of the team kind of painted onto the seats, and I'm trying to read as Dallas kind of takes his phone and his T-Mobile. VOMMAIN, so Vomain? I don't know what that stands for.
Mannheim Steamroller.
Sure. I'm seeing Bitburger along the boards as a sponsor. It looks fabulous. I wonder if it's retractable or it's
looks very
permanent
cool.
open air. But Dallas Aikens, he is on X. You can follow him at Dallas Aikens. We'll have more on our social handles coming up. It is 8:02. We'll get to the third hour of the show. If you want to play kind of easy trivia right now, and we didn't start 2025 off to a bang yesterday as Chris stumbled out of the blocks, to say the least. He whiffed on all the hockey questions, which to me was, I
haven't written a single question, so kind of easy trivia. So don't look to me to
well, it'll live up to its moniker, really. It's supposed to be kind of easy. We may ask you your name, what year it is again, and maybe even what month it is.
What time is it? Yeah.
Free for all.
Yeah.
But just don't pause like Herm Edwards. Just answer something or you can pass on. But if you want to play, text in 780-218-9999. Say, I want to play, Trev. And he'll pick one of you, and hopefully you can get back in the good graces and get us back in the win column here. You're playing for a GC to Mr. Mike's. That's coming up. Kind of easy trivia. 3 questions too many on the way. We'll get to an orange and blue breakfast, kind of refocus our gaze now to the pro game. Oilers and Ducks tonight. We'll get into that. No beer of the week this week. But look, feeling generous. We still got him. We'll give you a chance to win $50 to Sobeys and Safeway Liquor. We'll get to a Marmot Basin Snow Report, all ahead of the wrap for William Huff. That's on the way, number 3. Lieutenant Eric Dave Jameson in for Dustin Nielsen. YouTube Trev's got a sports update. This is The Nielsen Show on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Just like that, yesterday in the quarterfinals, Team Canada loses to Czechia by the score of 4-3. This is the second year in a row that Canada has not medaled. Elsewhere in the World Juniors, Germany beats Kazakhstan 4-3. Sweden over Latvia 3-2 is the score. Americans all over the Swiss 7-2. And the Finns get by the Slovaks 5-3 is the score in that one. Czechia will now go on to play USA in the semifinals, while the Finns will take on the Swedes, both games scheduled for tomorrow. To the NHL we go. 12 games in the NHL last night, including the Maple Leafs getting by the Islanders 2-1 is the score. The Ducks edge out the Jets 4-3 in overtime. The Stars double up on the Sens 4-2. The Utah Hockey Club defeat the Flames 5-3. And the Canucks are 4-3 winners in the shootout over the Kraken. Tonight in the NHL, the Oilers are back in action against the Anaheim Ducks. You can join Tom Gazzola for the GCL Diesel pre- and post-game shows. Coverage starts at 6 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. And 4 other games tonight, including the Penguins at Florida, Canadians in Chicago. The Senators take on the Blues, and the Predators visit the Canucks. To the WHL we go. 10 games going on tonight, including the Oil Kings making a trip down south to take on the Hurricanes. Puck drop for this one goes at 7 o'clock. And to finish things off in the NBA, the Raptors are on one of 9 games scheduled around the association tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. Tip-off for this one goes at 5:30. Take your career to the next level with Claiborne Services. They are hiring all positions, including journeyman bricklayers and apprentices of all levels. Take advantage of their outstanding mentorship program and work with peace of mind, knowing they are an industry leader in safety. Visit www.claiborneservices.com or make it easy and give Jeff a call at 780-910-6728.
What say you? Hey, nasty crew. We got the Nielson show flu. Well, there's nothing we can do about it. What say you? Hey, nasty crew. My wife thinks I got better things to do, but there's nothing I can do about it. We're tuning in, we're listening online. We catch up with the podcast when we fall behind. We're texting in the nasty chat, what's on our mind. 780-218-9999. No more interference from corporate interest. Just Tati and Eric and all of the bad cats like Brzezinski and Noodles. Captain can gauge it. If it's a fun but a cool band to make a little wager. We can't wait for the Monday mandate. Shaggy's always on time. Tommy's always late.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Forget about the old place. Hey, we were number one in the text race. We don't miss all the commercial breaks, but we sure miss Nickelback today. We wanna hear some hot takes and we wanna hear Renee. Wanna hold the neck up when I wanna kiss away. Beat up the tire fire and remember that name. We love every goal song, but what about the games? Macramel, Rapaport, Dragger, Engineer. It ain't Christmas season, but they sound like reindeer. Button and my cousin and the tales of the north. All about a given person, Dusty go forth. What say you? AM Nasty Crew. We got the Nielson show flu. And there's nothing we can do about it. And there's nothing we can do about it. And there's nothing we can do about it.
Hosting and reading.
808. As we dive into the Nielson Show mailbag here on a Friday morning.
Maddie's mailbag.
Oh. We'll have that during the hangout. Yeah. Brought to you by.
Brought to you by.
Sure. Lieutenant Eric, Dave Jameson in for the man Dustin Nielson, who will be back Monday on the Nielson Show here, edmontonsportstalk.com. You can catch us on the website, streaming, iHeart, TuneIn radio apps. We are on YouTube as well. If you are watching this morning, pound that thumbs up, hit the like. And YouTube
12,000 subs is our goal.
And then Dustin eats something else from the sea.
Oh, it's got to be from the sea, right? Because only the sea.
He hates seafood. So like one of those gonducts or something, you know, those slimy things that come out of a shell.
Yes.
Yeah. I like the seafood. I like food from the sea.
Likewise.
Food from the sea, food for me. That's what that's the motto. I have it tattooed on my back.
If it's got a fin, I'm in.
Yeah. YouTube Trev has wrangled somebody in as well for kind of easy trivia we'll get to.
Sure.
We did find out Adam Zeal, credit to him, seems to be Deutsche Bank Park on the Nasty Chat, the stadium of Eintracht Frankfurt of the Bundesliga.
Oh.
They also employ a coveted young striker, Omar Marmouche. Remember that name. He'll be making the rounds in the transfer market. But yeah, Deutsche Bank Park, Frankfurt, a football stadium, but they'll be playing the...
Looks lovely.
The DEL winter game. That's where it'll be between Dallas Aikens and his Eagles of Adler Mannheim. Trev, who do we got playing trivia today?
I don't know if it's that Adam, but we do have an Adam on the line.
Wouldn't it be funny if it's him? Adam, is your last name Zeal or Zyle?
No, sorry.
Oh, well, that's okay.
He's like, oh, no. How do I answer? Okay.
Just wanted to confirm, and we don't need your... What do you just go by Adam, or do you have some sort of a funny handle that you like to use in the Nasty Chat in the Paris Drewers inbox?
So this is Adam from Spruce, but I'm not on there too much.
I like that. Spruce, yeah. So they'll be having that new ball team, hey? They got the new park under construction and all that. You jazzed up for that?
I got my doubts.
Interesting. Well, we'll talk off air about that. You seem to know some things. You're the Spruce Grove insider here. Adam, you know how we do. We started off the new year yesterday with a terrible loss. Went 0-for. Actually, it was Chris. We trust you to get us back on track today. You are playing for a Mr. Mike's GC. You can check out Mr. Mike's whenever, but it always helps with a GC in hand. Fiesta Fusion ongoing. Great steaks, great burgers. Eat fresh, eat local, eat Mr. Mike's. You know how we do. We'll start the ticker after Dave reads the first question. You need at least 3 out of 5. Are you ready?
Let's go, J-Mo.
All right. Who do the Oilers play tonight?
Anaheim Ducks.
Did Canada beat Czechia at the World Juniors?
Not yesterday.
What does USA stand for?
United States of America.
What is your favorite team in football, NFL?
Buffalo Bills.
Oh, yes.
What month is it?
January.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Sergio Ramos gets a nimble erection.
Oh, is that dirty?
This is not just a dream, it's a wet dream of orgasmic proportions.
Oh, is that dirty?
Frustration sets in and the emotion goes out, and then you just start playing with yourself.
Oh, is that dirty?
You cannot come to my house. No, not today.
You cannot come to my house. No, not today.
Adam, my man, Bills fan and everything. He knows what month we're in. He even, on the Canada Czechia, did beat them yesterday. Like, they have beaten them before. Your question was pretty open-ended. So
it was very open-ended, but I like the way he's like, yeah, smart guy, not last night.
Yeah. He went 7 out of 5 there. hell of a work by Adam. Adam from Spruce. He's off to Mr. Mike's. Congratulations to him. Ending the week on a high note. Jay Milne texting, would anyone like a coffee? I don't believe you're on. Are you good? Do you want one here? Do you want to get topped up?
Sure, I'll take a small one. Yes, just I know. And
J-Mo wants a small.
When you ask, when you're doing drive-thru and you go, give me the smallest one. I don't want a full. I don't like those that are.
I usually get a double shot of espresso.
Oh, do you?
And you know what? They have real small cups for those. They'll give it. It's a novelty thing, and it makes you look like you have a real big hand. And all you need is the shot of espresso. Like that's all. You don't need.
Before we leave, I want to wear the big hat.
Well, yes. You should be doing it for the Orange and Blue Breakfast.
Orange and Blue Breakfast. I'll bring out the big hat.
We'll get a little
randy. Are we not going to talk about Maddie's mailbag? We can't say the comments that Jim Matheson received when he went out to his followers.
Okay, you want to go there? Yeah, that's we can't on Twitter. Yes, Jim Matheson just put it out
last night. Said, hey, look, I'm chilling. If you've got any questions, fire away.
Phone was on, and he just
I was a little dismayed, but I giggled a lot at some of the questions that came his way, and not all of them confined to the Oilers. And some weren't questions; they were just more statements.
I still have trouble finding the actual Jim Matheson account most of the time because there were about 5,000 imitations. And I can't really suss out which one is which half the time, which is maybe a credit to him.
Fair.
He's a little edgy, which I like on my Twitter, my X viewing.
Yes.
I don't want it all pedestrian all the time, but...
God, they weren't pedestrian last night.
I mean, you search up Jim Matheson here. I mean, you've got a variety of... You've got a spectrum of Mathesons. This one's covering the Condors since 72.
Okay.
This one's covering the NHL.
Covering the Condors since 72?
If that's the flavor of...
Sure.
I don't believe any of them are real. I've never seen the guy in the flesh, so maybe this is all...
You've never met Maddie?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. The local media terrify me.
How so?
I'm very intimidated.
Wrong.
No, but this is the Mecca, right? This is... The perch up at Rogers is a...
Oh, you're talking about, the hallowed ground.
Even Reed scares the hell out of me when he shows up.
Oh, because he carries himself
in those peacoats and everything. Yeah, it's, it's a little bit of cachet.
Sure.
Okay, The Nielson Show is presented by Southport Chevrolet. Drive a little, save a lot today. www.southportchev.com. If you're looking at getting a new whip, new vehicle, go to Fort Sask, pay them a visit. It's a great dealership. You might even just hang around and talk some fantasy football. Southport Chevrolet, drive a little, save a lot today. And we are coming to you live from the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Studio. Get some chicken, warm that belly from last night's Canada loss, and maybe set yourself up for that Oilers-Ducks game tonight as well. Feed the family from Popeyes. 3 questions too many right now, brought to you by the great staff at Park Mazda. And Trev, if you want to jump up in the play here, feel free to do so with these 3 questions too many. Park Mazda, your dealer for life. Check out Mitch and the fine folks out in Sherwood Park, parkmazda.ca online as well. Question number 1, if you were in charge of Hockey Canada, what is one decision you would make today? And I'm not looking for like a serious, I don't want names of like some executive gets the axe, but I'm looking for something a little more fun, something a little, do you change the jersey look? Do you, maybe it was the socks that were pissing you off and you blame that for the loss. Maybe you write a letter to your MP. Okay, I'm just saying, but I'm looking for an avenue in a way, because I know a lot of people, and we kicked the show off today. We did the symposium. People suggested, the selection of players, the coaching. Yeah, but I want you to kind of take this thing off-road a bit. Get a little Matty on us here.
Wow. What would I do immediately? I'm given the power to do one thing out of the gate on Hockey Canada.
Yes.
Rebrand it. Call it something else. Like, try and confuse
Canada
people.
Hockey.
Right.
Yeah.
Just flip it.
Sometimes all you need is a good rebrand and a refresh.
Move the maple leaf and change the way the player is skating. Change hands on the logo.
I'll tell you this, and my answer will be the logo.
Logo change?
I didn't really like...
Well, I mean...
You know what I want? You know what I want is that...
you want the 72 Canada.
No, what was that Hockey Canada? I'm looking like a Dubé, it's got that, like a streaking logo.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, yeah.
I know the one.
It's like an 80s, 90s type of, but getting back to the success, the good years and all that. And
because you and I both know from years in media, what is a radio, a radio station is going to, when they decide they're going to flip format, they change the logo, right? That's job one. And they may want to change the fortunes of the station, and they may want to, whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Presumably get more audience, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the public-facing but least effective thing they could do. So I think that's what Hockey Canada does.
Yeah, and that's kind of the answer I was looking for here. Nothing too serious, something around the edges.
Totally meaningless, but to them will be substantive change.
Yeah, like the regular right now, the corporate right look is the silhouette of the player. Do we even know who that player is?
Jerry West.
Is that... how did I know you?
Yeah,
I really set myself up there.
It's the Jumpman logo,
no, but
for
they have Jerry
Canadians.
West. No, but who is that in that white silhouette inside the maple leaf of
Frank Mahovlich. I don't know who it is.
It's got to be somebody though. Well, they cut and paste somebody on there.
They're not skating with their knees bent enough. I can tell you that much. Okay, so they're probably from my era.
You're doing the work. I love it.
Yes.
Trev, any ideas? Would you? Is it look? Is it branding? Is it
elevate Dave Cameron? They said they don't.
That's the twist I'm looking for.
Him. This
is the Buffalo Sabres.
Yes.
Project. Yeah.
El Presidente, El Perfecto. You move him up. We want to keep that brain power in the organization, but we're going to take Dave off the bench.
Yep. Just move him elsewhere.
Yes.
It's the player's fault.
Equipment manager.
They made him look bad. Yeah.
Move him. You always elevate, Trev. Always elevate.
I'm thinking maybe what this team lacked was maybe they just didn't really know. They had no chemistry. And how do you build chemistry? Team bonding. No. So maybe they go on a very nice trip to an amusement park.
I feel a paintball. A team
paintball.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Here we go.
A Chuck E. Cheese afternoon, hey?
Oh, how about this? A scavenger hunt. Work together.
Nationwide geocaching. Oh, they're unleashed on the country, and you got to find. And they have to go in pairs or whatever. Like your duos or whatever pairings.
They just didn't work as a team. They didn't.
I love that answer because chemistry was an issue. You're now taking it to a part and a place where loosen it up a bit.
Yep. Yeah, and I think the best way to do that would be a scavenger hunt. Wherever they may be. It could be in Ottawa, wherever this team is
See
next
the
year.
country.
Helsinki,
Yeah.
wherever it is.
And nothing says hockey like, hey, why don't we all dye our hair blonde?
Of course.
Right? Isn't that sort
Yes.
of...
Hey,
Hey,
guys,
wow.
that's
Right?
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
I hope they're listening to us.
a bunch of Joe Burrows. It's the blonde thing.
That's what they're missing.
Yes, because that's what junior hockey. That's junior hockey in a nutshell. You're going for the chip. You're in that final phase.
Peroxidus. Let's
Or
go.
or all mohawks or all shaved or whatever.
Mohawks, that's a good one.
Some sort of
Mullets. Classic.
Half stash. Something that brings everybody together. We can all have a laugh.
Perfect.
We figured it out. Question number 2: how do you prefer to? We got to get that big hat on you. I can't wait.
Don't worry.
I cannot. If you've been listening this morning, get on the YouTube because this is going to be great. And you're dressing up that desk mighty fine, I must say as well. Question number 2: your favorite way to digest mayonnaise? In celebration of today's Duke's Mayo Bowl, or famous Duke's Mayo Bowl, Minnesota and Virginia Tech.
So when you say that, like, what would you add it to?
If you want to go that route, because if you didn't know,
it as a dip,
a grilled cheese sandwich.
Oh yeah.
You can use mayo instead of that butter as a crisping agent in terms of getting
Are you serious? Like on the inside and outside,
and it's a little more rich. And it adds.
Come on now.
Oh yeah. I didn't know this as well up until recently, but that's
you
the
may
thing.
have just unlocked. That's the unlocked something for me because
and we
I'm
were
a
talking,
grilled cheese guy.
Well, we were talking about this a 5-tool type of condiment, but we've really taken it to another level.
It's the Shohei Ohtani of dips.
It sure is.
Right? Just
no mayo for the Blue Jays. But yeah, a dip. Do you like to add it into a dish where it's like, oh, what's that hint on the back of my? Oh, that's the mayo I put in there earlier.
I don't make a lot of dips. I favor a roasted red pepper dip. I have to assume I don't know what's in it other than roasted red peppers.
Yeah.
Or something out of a tube. I'm just so intrigued now. I did not know you could use mayo on the inside and outside.
Really got you there, eh?
Yes.
Start calling you Herm Edwards. You'll be totally speechless. Somebody suggested a pub crawl for the Team Canada.
How about no?
I don't think that's
no. Let's
keep it above board.
I didn't
here.
have fun with that one, so I don't think they would.
No.
Mayo. There's two things that I have mayo on. Chicken McMuffin from McDonald's. That's the
and you're talking the packets that they have. Well,
they just have them on it.
Okay,
I don't add any extra.
But you know that McChicken sauce? It's essentially mayo. It's kind of like old mayo. It's the same.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie.
Mayo.
I'm not a big mayo guy, but that one, for whatever reason, it just tastes so well on the Chicken McMuffin. And then the other thing, if this counts, does spicy mayo count?
Sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then we're talking spicy salmon roll with extra spicy mayo. That is the best. That is one of my favorite dishes all time.
Even Dusty would get down on that with that spicy mayo. You'd have to think, right? Like, I know he doesn't like the seafood, but you give him a roll with that spicy mayo on top.
I tell you,
good night.
Is something else. So those are the only two things that I have mayo with.
Duck Dad says mayo, squeeze in a lime, add chili powder, put that SHIT on everything.
Really?
So that's his little recipe there for dressing up. Mayo is good on its own, but you could put, it's a blank slate. It's like an easel with nothing. And you just go up to it and you say, and you put a bunch of chili powder and lime on it, and away you go. Rusty Shackelford, garlic butter better than normal butter, and mayo for grilled cheese. Everybody's going on the mayo grilled cheese thing. Mayo instead of butter for grilled cheese is a game changer. I can't wait until you try this out.
I'm getting here, and I'm going to hit because I've got one of those griddlers. You know, you press down and you get the
Daddy's
the nice
home.
lines.
Yeah, yeah. Get a fresh jar of Hellman's.
Yes. Yeah, and just grabbing it in with my hand, laying it on.
Sure.
Splat.
Licking it a splat.
Yeah.
Brent P says, what's the over-under on minutes when J-Mo gets home to making a grilled cheese? Well, yeah, there you go. 5 minutes. I think we'll set it at 4.5, to get that thing going. LeDuc Aaron says, horseradish and mayo mixed together for prime rib or beef dip. And again, a good base. You're kind of killing that horseradish a bit and settling it down some.
Yes.
The mayo provides a nice base, and I like that. I like the way you're thinking there.
Knock down horseradish.
Yeah, LeDuc Aaron. And question number 3, this comes in from earlier. What is the reason for Zach Hyman's diminished role in the third line?
Really?
We're going to get to the Orange and Blue Breakfast shortly, in which we'll have the lineups, the injury reports, keys to a victory, and all those things.
Breathing. I'm going to guess. I have no idea. I don't know upper, lower,
Trev, what do you think? Zach Hyman right now, is it? I mean, he's not in any sort of doghouse. I don't normally imagine he would be with any coach. I mean, Jeff Skinner's got that place. That's his
Jeff
house.
Goes,
so you stay out of my house. Yeah, this is my house. I'm the big dog.
Yes.
Any thoughts on Zach Hyman right now? I mean, the face thing is...
I mean, the only thing I can really think of is just bringing that scoring down to a few lines, just getting some more depth. That's the only thing I can really think of. Maybe JMO brings up a good point. Obviously, he's having a hard time breathing, so just lessen his minutes. I don't know, but you've got Connor Brown on the first line there, and I forget what I read, but like he's actually just doing really well in his last few games.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's
9 points in 10, I think. Fine.
Yeah, like he's actually turning things around. He's becoming the player that they thought they got in the first year. But so you got that, and then the second line, Podkolzin and Arvidsson, I really just think they're trying to find something there to keep that consistent. So you bring Zach Hyman down to the third line. Maybe he adds more scoring touch to that line because Jeff Skinner is not really getting the job done. So I think they're just looking at a more balanced approach and just more depth. That's the only thing I can really think of.
And Hyman's a guy that will do what is asked.
He's not bothered.
And on the dog theme, a good dog, like he'll go out there, he'll get the dust, he'll play fetch, he'll do it all for you. So. Yeah, I don't think any problem there, as Texter was kind of trying maybe to insinuate towards. And certainly, I mean, I don't know, from a physical standpoint, sure, maybe, but as Trev said too, maybe a more balanced approach to the lineup. And you look at the players ahead of him, Connor Brown playing on a bit of a heater right now, and that second line is as is. Janmark between Hyman and Kapanen on that third line. Yeah, we'll see, and we'll keep it going. As for Jeff Skinner, I mean, do you see Jeff Skinner entering the postseason donning Oilers orange and blue, Trev?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he'd have to waive...
Exactly.
Who's the best Kapanen in your mind? Is it Sammy Kapanen? If we're doing a ranking of Kapanens...
that sounds for weekly rankings of power, hey?
It sounds like that could be a fun thing to do. Rank the Kapanens. And I know I'm taking you off the...
Well, no, but we'll have to get into... Because there are a few, I'm sure.
Oh, sure there are.
And we would
it'd be
unfair to look over a few.
Yes.
But yeah, Sammy, Oliver Kapanen.
Okay, we'll take that.
Won't forget him. But yeah, Skinner though, Trev, your thoughts on old Jeff Skinner?
If he were to leave, it would have to go to a playoff team. Like, there's no way this guy holds the record for most games played without playing a game in the playoffs, so he'd have to go to a playoff team. But even then, like I don't see it. I really don't see it. I think he's going to be an Oiler, whether you like it or not. And frankly, I like him. I think he's done okay for the time that he's got. But there's clearly something going on behind the scenes.
And listen, not to diminish his talent and what he's done in the NHL, but just as would it be kind of weird and in kind of a neat way to score as often as he did, put up the numbers he did, and never have been in the playoffs?
It's the Dan Marino thing all over again. No, I'm saying there is a specialty to that. It'll sting in the moment, but you look back and you kind of have a chuckle. You've made your money.
Right. You're reflecting on your life and your career, and you're sitting in Muskoka, and you're staring out over, you're listening to Bob Cage.
Yeah. And maybe a dart in your hand.
Yeah, well,
ain't that a bee?
You're kind of sad, then you just start laughing.
Yeah.
It's like,
you're living a good life. I mean, it's not everybody wins the Stanley Cup. Not everybody makes it into the playoffs. It happens. You can go through a career playing a couple of seasons and not.
It's a tough sport.
Getting a sniff or a lick.
The toughest.
Tough to even make it there. So you're in it. You're making a dime. Speaking of dimes, Fergie's Prostate, 780-218-9999. How did the Canadian players respect their coach when it looked like he was wearing one of his dad's shirts? It was a 17 collar, and Cameron is a 14 neck. It's like a roll of dimes.
That's a great line, and I noticed that last night.
Okay, you did, too.
Yes.
You looked away from the frames of his glasses, hey? Because I was mesmerized by those.
Gives off, again, for you older viewers, you'll know what I'm saying, a Tom Watt vibe. Probably too old for you. Coach the Canucks, the Jets.
I liked his first two albums. Go on. Hey.
No.
This text, unsigned, in prison, they use the radiator to make grilled cheese. So Take that with what you will, unsigned.
Is that a reference to the Green Mile or some prison movie? Or is
Mean
maybe
Green
someone...
today, North Texas.
What's that? Oh, never mind. I wasn't listening.
A touch of mayo and mashed potatoes gives it a nice zing, that Owen guy says. That I haven't tried, but I'll meet you there. I could give that a shot. Raider Justice says the anti-mayo lobby should be blackballed, akin to peak MacArthurism. It's the best condiment, and anyone who disagrees should be shamed.
And the best mayo of all, and you skip by it, Gerard Mayo.
We would accept it as an answer this morning.
Yes.
Mayo can come, mayonnaise. I mean, the whole thing.
Form.
Miracle Whip, even. We'll allow Miracle Whip. No, I don't know.
Miracle Whip. I don't.
Because it's like a play off it. It's like it's like a margarine.
It's a down
I would
market.
say, yeah, to butter.
Yeah.
Light on. Lee says light on a boy and homemade deviled eggs. Nothing else ever. I don't know if light on a boy is what he meant to say, but it sounds funny. Scuba Steve says, permission to make a request. What is JMO's Burton Cummings story? Don't think we got to it yesterday. Do we have time for that before a sports update here quickly? Did you have a story on Burton Cummings?
Oh, I do. No, sports update first. Then where do we have to go after that?
Well, you got to put on that big cap,
Okay,
and
let
then
me
we'll
come
get
back.
to an orange
Let
and
me
blue
come
back.
back.
You
with
get the
some,
mind going
with a prop because I'm a prop comedian. We'll come back. I'll tell the Burton Cummings story.
You are a prop, and he's going to smash a watermelon with an oversized mallet. So stay tuned for that. One more, Jason here. Awesome Muskoka drop, JMO. GTA Bros. That's so he must be from the GT. You know what it's like, hey?
Yes.
Yeah. Agincourt and all that.
Yes.
Yeah. It is the Nielsen Show. Lieutenant Eric Dave Jameson in for Dustin Nielsen. YouTube Chef's got a sports update on your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Orange and Blue Breakfast coming up next.
Just like that, yesterday in the quarterfinals, Team Canada loses to Czechia by the score of 4-3. This is the second year in a row that Canada has not medaled. Elsewhere in the World Juniors, Germany beats Kazakhstan 4-3. Sweden over Latvia 3-2 is the score. Americans all over the Swiss 7-2. And the Finns get by the Slovaks 5-3 is your score. Czechia will now go on to play USA in the semifinals while the Finns take on the Swedes. Both games are scheduled for tomorrow. To the NHL we go. 12 games in the NHL last night, including the Maple Leafs getting by the Islanders. 2-1 is the score. The Ducks edge out the Jets 4-3 in overtime. The Stars double up in the Sens 4-2. The Utah Hockey Club defeat the Flames 5-3, and the Canucks are 4-3 winners in the shootout over the Kraken. Tonight in the NHL, the Oilers are back in action against the Anaheim Ducks. You can join Tom Gazzola for the GCL Diesel pre- and post-game shows. Coverage starts at 6 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. And 4 other games tonight, including the Penguins at Florida, Canadians in Chicago. The Senators take on the Blues, and the Predators visit the Canucks. To the WHL we go. 10 games tonight, including the Oil Kings making a trip down south to take on the Hurricanes. Puck drop for this one goes at 7 o'clock. And to finish things off in the NBA, the Raptors are one of 9 games scheduled around the association tonight, taking on the Orlando Magic. Tip-off for this one goes at 5:30. Boxing Week savings are now on at Sit and Sleep. All Canadian-made custom sofas, sectionals, and bedrooms will be on sale. Save up to 50% off select floor samples, 20% off home accents, and more. Plus, make no payments until 2026, interest-free, and make any purchase over $999 during the sale and receive free local white glove delivery with full setup and installation. Don't miss the massive Boxing Week furniture and mattress sales events on now at Sit and Sleep in South Edmonton Common next to Planet Fitness.
The Nielsen Show featuring Lieutenant Eric. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk.
You are tuned in to the Nielsen Show. Lieutenant Eric, Carrot Top, Dave Jameson here, the prop comic of EST. It's a, as you were saying off air, big hat
It's funny, huh?
It's funny.
Big hat.
Yes.
Funny.
JMO's in for Dusty, who will be back Monday here on his show. YouTube Trev, you heard him on the sports updates behind the monitors there. We're going to get into an orange and blue breakfast right now, but if you are listening on the iHeart and TuneIn radio apps, good morning. Happy New Year as well. And if you are watching on YouTube, Edmonton Sports Talk on YouTube, hit the like, pound the thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oilers and Ducks tonight. Ducks come into this one fresh off an overtime victory last night out in Winnipeg, 4-3 over the Jets. Oilers back in the win column with a victory over Utah back home here, but stumbling a bit post-Christmas down in Cali with losses to the Kings and the Ducks. So they'll look for a little revenge tonight on home ice. I assume that they will serve that up to the Ducks, given Anaheim was playing last night. I'm feeling good thoughts about this game.
And an overtime win.
A little extra hockey.
A little extra hockey.
They couldn't board that charter too soon. So you got to be like in Edmonton tonight, I would think, at home. We'll get into your lineups here, but the Orange and Blue Breakfast brought to you by GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton, Northern Alberta for over 50 years now, a partner of Edmonton Sports Talk, and also the Reed Wilkins Show. GCL Diesel. Understood.
Understood indeed. Is this not the first time we're going to see Jacob Trouba in the Ducks colors in Edmonton?
Well, we will be going over the lineups here, and I do see his name. His name he's right behind Radko Gudas there on that back end. Yes. So the Oiler that never was, according to some, that every time a player kind of shakes loose from any team, the fan base here or a section of it wants them or needs them. Probably
would overpay.
Absolutely. It is a video game after all. This life we live.
Life is a video game.
Yep. The Oilers starting lineup tonight, as we last saw it, McDavid between RNH and Brown, who, as we mentioned, I do believe 9 points in his past 10. Playing pretty hot right now. I gotta love that. Leon Draisaitl centering Vasily Podkolzin and Victor Arvidsson. Janmark between Hyman and Kapanen, and a fourth line consisting of Henrique, Skinner, and Perry. Your pairings: Bouchard, Ekholm, Nurse, Stetcher, Kulak, Emberson, and starting in goal tonight, Stuart Skinner. Perhaps, maybe, not too sure with what we saw yesterday. Of course, Tommy was here, but we'll have more on that. Here's Jason Milne with the coffee deliveries. And a small, look at that,
Look at that. A minute.
Small coffee, big hat.
Yeah.
That's how he's rolling today. For the visiting Anaheim Ducks, who are coming off, as mentioned, an overtime victory out in Winnipeg last night, you got Ryan Strome between Troy Terry, who got the winner last night, and Frankie Vetrano. Leo Carlson centering Leeson and Killorn. Mason McTavish in between Cutter Gauthier and Robbie Fabry. And Isaac Lundestrom between Ross Johnston and Jansen Harkins. The blue line of the Ducks consists of Jackson Lacombe and Radko Gudas, Pavel Minkinov, and Jacob Trouba. You've also got Brian Dumoulin and Drew Hellison, and goaltenders include Lucas Dostal and John Gibson. Before Trevor falls asleep over there, we're going to get to keys to it. We're trying to get him to stay awake here. But we got the keys to an Oilers victory tonight, gentlemen, prior to the podium physiotherapy injury report. But what are your keys to an Oilers win tonight? Both of you. Start with Dave over here.
Establish a physical presence early, which I know you could probably apply to any team at any time in every game. But I think that's critical, that the Oilers, I mean, what we saw in the last game against the Ducks, Anaheim is not in the weight class of Edmonton, but they are, and in that game, and what I've seen of the Ducks thus far this year is that they are diligent. And so you're more talented for sure, but they will catch teams. And they are on a bit of a run here right now. Yeah. We saw it here or against Edmonton down there. And also we saw it over the last couple of games and how they played. And they beat a very good Winnipeg team.
Trev, keys to a victory.
I hope Chris Knobloch goes in the room and he doesn't have to say much. He'll say, boys, did you watch Team Canada play last night?
Oh, no. Here we go.
And then everyone's going to be like, yes, we did, coach. We did. He's like, okay, do everything they didn't do. Just don't play like them. And then you'll be good. You'll be good for tonight's game. That's it.
Do you think Connor McDavid reached out to them as well? Are we still going there, Matty? No. It's this should be again, Ducks on the ice last night longer than they should have in the overtime. They did get the win, winners of 3 in a row, but you got to like that revenge will be served tonight on an ice cold platter down at Rogers Place. Duck confit. You like a little mayo on your duck, do you, Dave?
Gerard Mayo.
The injury report brought to you by Podium Physiotherapy right now. Knee pain from that nagging ACL, hip or shoulder pain slowing you down, back pain after long days at work. We've got you covered. Whether it's a sports injury, post-op recovery, or the wear and tear of everyday life, the expert team is here to get you back on track at Podium Physiotherapy. NHL caliber treatment for the everyday individual. Book now at podiumphysiotherapy.com. For the Ducks tonight, Trevor Zegras and Brock McGinn on the IR. And for the Edmonton Oilers, pretty elementary here when it comes to injuries. Evander Kane out. But we also mentioned Zach Hyman with a bit of an asterisk dealing with that. It's going to be a bit of
be fine.
He'll be fine, but it does do affect you in some shape or form.
And
so
we are guessing. Right, because a texter asked earlier in the show, and so as we do, we're guessing as to why he might have had less than in terms of ice time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is your Orange and Blue Breakfast. Thoughts on tonight's game? Once again, you can join Tom Gazzola. I mean, we'll have you plastered and covered throughout the day leading up to puck drop tonight, but Tom Gazzola, your GCL Diesel pregame show and the postgame show following tonight's action, but the pregame, that gets going at 6 o'clock here on EST, the iHeart TuneIn radio apps, and you can always watch him as well. Good-looking guy, that Tommy. He was in the Nasty Chat earlier this morning on the show, but no wrench as well. So we always like to say when he chimes in with no wrench that he didn't spend the night at home. That's kind of the funny joke that we have for him. Because he's a tomcat, our Tommy.
Got it.
Let's get anything else you'd like to chime in or add to tonight's game? Thoughts on tonight's game? Get them in right now. Paris Drewler's inbox 780-218-9999, where people are texting in the Norm Macdonald Big Hat gift right now, as you would expect. But any thoughts? Oh, now Tom Gazzola, wrench in hand, looking great, JMO. He says in the Nasty Chat.
Well, I've always wanted to wear one of these hats. And I just had never come across one until, I didn't seek it out. I wasn't going to buy one. And lo and behold, you had one right here.
And you kind of found one out when you took it off the trophy there that it resides on.
There's an inner
It's not
ring.
That your head is big now.
No. But
it's a bit of a play on the eyes,
I tried it on earlier. And it just sort of sat and spun on my head. And and then you advise that there's a ring inside.
Yeah, a foam.
I like it.
A foam buffer. Rob from the Grove says, Dave shrunk.
Well, yes, I have.
In his head, but then the coffee, throws it all to it's kind of all out there. The Marmot Basin Snow Report, let's get to that right now for a weekend out in Jasper, the 36th annual Jasper in January Festival. That'll go next Friday on the 10th. If you know, a great time out in Jasper. The whole town just kind of binds together, especially after the events of what happened last summer. I mean, it's good to get out there. I know Will Fraser likes to venture out there as much. He used to get his hair cut by a barber. He would drive out to Jasper for his haircuts.
No.
And the barber out there would give him a snip, give him a trim, and then he would drive all the way back to the city here and live his life. Classic phrase story, right? Like that's a Will Fraser thing.
I did not know that. So he would drive how many hours to Jasper?
Like a 4
hour for a haircut.
Yeah, probably stop for a bite of his own food. Like he'd make a sandwich, pull over in a
and then just be condescending to bystanders.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
But Jasper in January, for more information, jasper.travel for updates, all the events during the festival. It's a great time. Go support the town. Next Friday, January 10th, Jasper in January kicking off. But the snow report for today, I don't know, do we have a bed kicking around? We can kind of play a little something underneath. Anything? Yeah, that's dirt. This courtesy Brian out at Marmot. Much warmer at Marmot Basin than other locales within Alberta today. Temperature minus 13 at 7 a.m. Forecast high minus 5 for today. They got a centimeter of new snow from last night. 7 centimeters over the past 5 days. The settled snowpack currently 62 cms with a total of 144 so far this season. All lifts operating today. Conditions very good throughout the entire mountain. Have a great weekend from Brian. So if you are going up there, let him know EST sent you. Enjoy it. Should be a nice weekend out at Marmot. And once again, Jasper in January kicking off next Friday the 10th. For more, check out jasper.travel for updates. I know the wife and I love to get away up there as well. They've got a kick-ass Korean barbecue restaurant just on the eastern side of the downtown, which I do believe is still still standing and operating, so I can't wait to get back and clear out the sinuses there.
Okay.
When's the last time you've been to many moons ago?
Or no. I was
business
there,
pleasure?
It was pleasure, but I was en route coming back from Penticton. And I stopped there overnight, and obviously before fire. So within the last 2 years. It's wonderful. I mean, it's you get out and walk early in the morning.
Oh, man.
Breathe it in, brother.
Yeah, I hear you there. Trev, now that you're in northern Albertan, certainly you've had your chances in the southern part of the province to check out the hills and the valleys and the mountains. But Jasper, does it turn your crank? Have you at all? You mentioned yesterday you want to do a little more traveling. Might I suggest taking a weekend or a few days and kind of going up there to explore yourself or find yourself again?
Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity or chance to head down there yet, but I mean, the mountains are like the best thing in the world to me. Like, I love the mountains. I took advantage of it, growing up down south in Pincher Creek. But it's one thing and I lived with my grandma. We always would just like look at the mountains, and she was like, Trev, like I've lived here for 40 years, but like this view still doesn't get old. And it's true. Like I could look at the mountains all day. Like, so yes, I haven't made my way down there yet, but Jasper, I would certainly love to go, and I like that.
You should go for Jasper in January if you have time. I know it's a short notice here, but that's a party and a half.
Okay.
I get to the Legion.
Sign me up.
Get a little bit of pizza.
I love the Legion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When was the last time you were in a Legion, Trev?
Maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah? In Lethbridge?
Yep, in Lethbridge. And there's Pincher and Colehurst all down there. I've been to a few Legions.
AB in the Nasty Chat says, saw my first grizzly in Jasper last summer. So majestic. And I've yet to see a wild bear.
Oh, really?
That's the one
even
thing.
Even at the roadside?
Never have I seen a bear in the wild. Black, brown, Kodiak, grizzly, polar, whatever.
It's arresting. You sort of think that's not real. I will say this. When a bear comes out into a clearing and the cars stop and people get out of the cars to take
it's on. You know something's happening.
Well, but my immediate reaction is, I hope I'm here when the bear turns on the crowd.
There's a name for them online. I think they're called Touridiots or something. Touridiots or something. There's some sort of a hashtag for them. But yeah, I mean, they do that in Yellowstone all the time with the buffalo and the elk and stuff. And they'll let me touch the horns. Let me.
Don't do that.
No. Love seeing the wildlife.
That's crazy.
Though.
Never seen a bear. That blows my mind.
Well, I
am surprised at that.
They're not like a common. You don't see herds of bear kind of.
No, but you've been in this part of the world for a long time, and you've been in the mountains a lot.
No. Not a lot.
Have you ever gone for a trek?
On average, I've trekked, I've biked, I've done it all. I wouldn't like to see one in that fashion.
Oh, no.
Don't get me wrong. I want to be in the safety of my car. I want the pullover. I want the scene where everybody's pulled over, snapping shots, and I can say, oh, look, a bear. And I don't really care if it's a black bear. I don't really.
You want
just to scratch off the list.
Sanitized bear experience. You want the bear on a unicycle.
Yes, outside of the zoo. Outside of the zoo, as close as you can get to that, but just outside of it. See the moose, like lots of moose. I mean, elk, the whole bit.
They're impressive.
They're great. So big. Bald eagles.
Majestic.
Bald eagles, very majestic.
Very majestic.
I was walking to school once. There's a black bear right in my grandma's yard. And then she yelled at me and said, Trevor! And I wasn't even paying attention.
Yes.
There's a black bear.
She locked the door and left you outside.
Yes. It was very, very intense.
Let's get into the wrap right now for William Huff. If you want your place to look as good as ours, I bet you Bruce has seen many bears in his lifetime. He's been around since 1952. He's incredible.
Say that again. If you'd like
your place to look as good as ours. Yeah, that's what we do. The Dream Team. WilliamHuff.com. Once again, 1952. They were paper in the World Juniors. They were down there, the Dream Team. So if you like how it looks, how we look, and you want a good look, check them out, WilliamHuff.com. Tell them EST sent you. Once again, in business since 1952. They are incredible at what they do, WilliamHuff.com. Boys, what did we learn on the show today? Outside of, you have a big hat on. We talked about mayo. We I think we solved...
mailbag. I know where I'd like to go with a feature like that.
I'm tabling that at the next staff meeting.
Yes.
I will. Brought to you by blank.
Brought to you by.
I think we solved Hockey Canada. We did our own mini symposium here throughout the 3 hours.
But we did it without doing the obvious, which is firing Dave Cameron.
In fact, promotion was discussed.
Yeah, well, that's where I'd go.
I'd
elevate.
It's the Buffalo Sabres model. It exists in hockey.
You're looking at him across the table, and you're about to say, Dave, look, I'm sorry. We're going to move in a different direction, and you're not part of that direction. But instead, you go, we've got an idea for you.
Yeah, we want to hide you.
How about you run all of this? Just take it over.
He had too little control.
Yeah.
These weren't the players he wanted to coach, and we want to give you more. I like that.
We've thought about this, and we realize you need more power.
Trev, did you pull anything out in terms of knowledge this morning during the 3-hour program?
Learned you've never seen a bear.
Yes.
I learned Herm Edwards is the pregnant pause king. That was kind of interesting.
He was hitting us with some big ones today.
He was. It was very, yeah.
I like
comedic. I liked it.
The coach's self-confidence where, look, I'm done answering.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm stopping right now.
That's where that comes from.
Well, it really
It's
adds
not trailing off. It's not trailing off, and then kind of, sort of, it's done.
And some of the answers he doesn't really like. He leaves you to fill in the blanks as well with that. Like he'll give his thought, but then what say you on the back end?
Yeah,
which is rather fascinating.
Back to you on the desk.
Sure. Text of the day. We had a lot of good ones. And Dudley says, beer me. I should forget as well. We didn't have a Sobeys and Safeway Liquor Beer of the Week. They don't have a flyer for the first week of January, which, again, as you're celebrating Dry January for a great cause, and if you could mention that again quickly.
Yes, for Canadian Cancer Society. You can go online, donate if you so choose, or even just raise awareness about the benefits of going without alcohol for the month of January. And maybe if you thought about it forever, but it is a very important fundraiser for an organization, Canadian Cancer Society, that does so much. And there are lots of like-minded organizations in this community and around the country raising the money necessary to do the treatment and the research to fight all forms of cancer. So check it out, Canadian Cancer Society, Dry January. Go dry in the month of January. It's a great program.
Yeah, and see where it takes you. As you mentioned,
Yes.
try it for the month for a good cause, and then you never know, you might like it. But that's the absence of Sobeys and Safeway Liquor Beer of the Week this morning, due to the fact no flyer for the first week, which is that's if you're not going to do the month, do the week. It's fine as well. So, but we still have the GC. So yeah, text in Beer Me right now. You can parlay that, and we'll choose somebody. We'll put you all into Dave's big hat here, rip out a lucky name, and you could be $50 richer in Sobeys and Safeway Liquor credits. Text of the day this morning, as I mentioned, and that's $20 to A&W. And today, of course, it is Oilers game day, Oilers Ducks. You get that $5 Mama Burger and medium fries combo, one of the best deals in the city. $20 to A&W for text of the day. We're going back to Dave the Welder. And he hung it up after this, 6:35, opening hour. And we said, but he didn't text in for the rest of the show. He knew not to spoil this. The last 2 years at World Juniors, Canada and Russia both haven't shown up to the tournament. No lull, no just jokes, no smiley face, wink, exclamation point, sentence, end.
That's a game-winning touchdown, but not spiking the ball.
He
not
held the
dancing.
ball. Didn't drop it, but he held it on. Like he's still trying to get that out of his arms.
And carried it back to the bench.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe one of these. The hand over the top.
Right.
The Sean Alexander.
Yeah. I'm wrapping up.
Dave the Welder, you're going A&W, buddy. $20 to A&W, courtesy of the Paris Jewelers inbox this morning. Enjoy and get on that Mama Burger game day deal. Mama Burger and medium fries for $5. Gentlemen, what are we watching tonight? And
is there any question?
Hey, well, construct me a menu here. We have TVs now that are smart. The cable packages that offer a variety of channels, albeit half of them blacked out from night to night. But Oilers and Ducks will take precedence. And as mentioned, the GCL Diesel pre- and post-game shows, all our shows leading up to then at 6 o'clock tonight, Tom Gazzola will get you set. And the Hangout coming up next, 9 to 11. Matt Iwanek, the glue guy, is in. I think Jasmine as well for today. But aside from Oilers
What's
and Ducks,
the World Junior schedule tonight? Because although I will
Dave,
be,
it's too soon. Too soon to be. You're toying with us now. Well, tomorrow afternoon. We said the Finland-Sweden game, the Battle of Scandinavia with Norway in the Ross Atkins chair watching.
A lot of good-looking people cheering on that
tons.
game, eh? Wow.
That's tomorrow afternoon. USA and Czechia tomorrow night, 5:30. That's your semifinals for the juniors.
Oilers-Ducks then.
Oilers-Ducks. A pretty lighter night, I guess, on the NHL schedule compared to last. You got the Canucks at home to the Preds, Blues hosting the Sens, the Habs visiting the Blackhawks in an 0-6 matchup, and it's original. The O stands for original. And the Penguins on the road taking on the FLA Panthers.
Original 6.
The granddaddies. Yeah?
Yes.
Bowl action as well, kicking off at 2 this afternoon. The North Texas Mean Green against your Texas State Bobcats, Dave, the First Responder Bowl. And at 5:30, it's the bowl we've all been waiting for, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Virginia Tech Hokies, Minnesota Golden Gophers. That's going down in Charlotte. And, of course, I do believe, the winning coach does get the Mayo bath, where they dump all the mayo on top of...
Bless you, Trev.
Yeah,
because he sneezes a lot. Hey?
Well, I said there's a lot of mold.
I've learned that.
There's a lot of mold on that corner of the
I'm getting
studio.
reacting right after. I said
Fast
that all.
acting, reacting.
Yes.
Tough acting,
I need
Ben
it back.
Acton.
That's
Will Acton or Ben Acton, right? Either or, right? We'll take either or. Thanks for listening. It's been a funny week. You've been in with Matthew Iwanek for 2. We then have the New Year's Day dismount. I come in, wrap it up. Dustin Nielson will be back Monday. Get things going again for the new year, but it was great sharing a desk with you in this form. We've done shows together in the past,
many, but
with multiple panes of glass separating
never on
us.
a desk like this.
You've been raiding Iwanek's office like a buccaneer all morning. It's been great.
I'm like a raven. I just go down, I pick stuff up, and then I fly away. Yeah.
You've got the big hat. You've got the small coffee. YouTube Trev's been back. Happy New Year to all.
Round of applause for JMO.
Yeah, he doesn't have the headphones in, so he didn't hear that at all either.
Okay. That's what that was.
He played an applause SFX. Yeah.
That was for
Play
you.
us a
From
button,
the
too.
studio.
You got your Roadcaster
At
here.
no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational
Those are
thought.
good ones, JMO.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that does it for the Nielson Show. Once again, Dusty back on Monday. GCL Diesel pregame coming up. I don't think am I missing anything here, boys? No. I mean, Dave, any last parting words for the fans? I know you've been getting a lot of flowers over this past week in terms of, maybe taking the Jason Demers route and you working here for free. Offering your services just pro bono, if you will.
Well, I like the idea of coming in out of the bullpen with the game well out of hand. Like the manager calling on me when we're down by 12 and just, can you finish this up? So I like the idea that it's low risk, low pressure.
Maybe
a lot of fun.
Dave's mailbag we could have, like a call in. You could come on for 10 minutes
and
in between shows and just take them.
And unedited, take them as they arrive.
Peppered at you.
I'd be happy to do that.
Once again, Beer Me, 780-218-9999. Not too late. Get in the mix. $50 to Sobeys and Safeway Liquor. We'll wrap it up now. Give the gents a little time. Gents and gals, as Jasmine will join the hangout today, 9 to 11 here on EST. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the auto play and you'll be taken straight over. For YouTube, Trev, Dave Jameson, and for Dustin Nielsen, I'm Lieutenant Eric. This has been The Nielsen Show on your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, edmontonsportstalk.com. Have a great weekend. Enjoy tonight's game.